right. Looks like we're live. Sweet. What's up, everybody? Thanks for joining me. Thank you to my patrons for supporting me and being here. You guys are always the first in line, and I very much appreciate it. So today we are going to go through a boat buying workshop, and I'm going to show you where I look for boats, how I find them. There's a lot that we're going to go over. There's a ton of places and a ton of sites. I've got all the links that we're going to go over in the description of the video. So there's links for all the sites we're going to talk about, links for a downloadable worksheet that I put together for you, just to kind of help you out, narrowing down boats. And let's see, what else do we have links for? There's a bunch. The worksheet, there's a link for consultations if you want an hour with me. There's a link to support us on Patreon. There's a link there's a special link for Yachtworld. This is the key part, actually, is the Yachtworld link. I've already went through and selected most of the boats that are Bluewater capable in one big long link, and so when you go onto Yachtworld, you can just use that link, boom, and it'll already select it, and then you just put in your parameters for price and length and whatever you're looking for, and then area. We'll go over that too. But Yachtworld's not the only place, so I've also got links, probably 6 or 7 links to different search engines. So thank you for joining. Let me tell you a little bit about myself, just in case you don't know who I am. My name is James Evenson. I'm an offshore sailor. I'm an ex-Navy submariner. I was a navigator in the submarine, and now I sail. And I'm a YouTuber. And I like to teach. I really love to help people find the right boat for them, and this is what this is about. So if you're interested in finding a sailboat or finding something for offshore, or maybe you don't really want to go offshore right now, but you want something that's capable for offshore later, that's what this is about, okay? If you can't hear me, you'll need to turn up your sound, because I can't turn it up anymore. That's as far as the program will let me go. So let me turn it up. I'll turn it up a little more. I'll do it like another 2 dB. Hey, 1 2 1 2. There we go. That's as far as it'll let me go. Okay. Let me know if that's too much for you, or if it's cutting, or if it's breaking off. You may notice that I've got a little bit of a haze around me. I've got a green screen behind me, so that's just the only way I can do it here, the best way that I've found to do this. And the cool part about it is I can share my screen with you, and I can still be on screen, still explaining to you what's up. Okay? So that's why I'm putting the green screen up, okay? What's up? Big shout out to Joe Breezy, Ron S., Judd. Sid's here, Fred Schmidt's here. You guys are awesome. Thank you very much. You guys are cool. So, listen, this is going to be an hour. So if you guys can't devote an hour to this right now, just save this link. I've got it in my Patreon as well. If you guys want to come back to it, you can go straight to Patreon. It's a public post, so it's not behind a paywall or anything. And you can go, boom, and you can watch that thing on the Patreon site. By the way, it's free to become a member, so reach over there and become a member. I post on there a lot more often than I post on YouTube. Also, for the paid members, we have a WhatsApp group that's super cool. It's called Zingaro's Saloon. It's been running for, I don't even know, probably 5 years. Maybe more. And it's a couple hundred people, and they're all awesome, and they meet up with each other, and they go sailing together, and you can ask questions in the group. There's a lot of really good sailors in there, and engineers, and it's just a cool place to hang out. So if you're interested in that, become a patron, and I'll send you that link. So what are we going to learn today? Let's stop the BS, and it's actually 2 o'clock on the dot right now. So if you're just joining us, we're going to do a boat buying seminar on how to find a boat, where to find a boat, how to avoid common pitfalls when people are looking for boats, how to avoid, what I want to teach to you today is how to avoid buying the wrong boat if you want to sail offshore. All right, if you guys are looking for something to sail around San Francisco Bay, or something to sail around a lake or something like that with no plans on going offshore, this is not really the seminar for you, because I am very offshore centered. What we're going to talk about is the difference between an offshore boat versus a coastal boat, and what the build differences are, what I think they should be, and then what kind of boats I would like to buy if I had, different price points. Okay. I'm gonna teach you guys a little bit about that. If you watch my videos, you probably know some of this information, but I've really put a lot of work into this webinar, and I want to kind of nail it down to, okay, this is the flow process that I use when I'm consulting for people. So again, thank you very much for the patrons that support me. Very, very appreciative of that, and thank you guys all for watching. All right, let's get into it. Step number one. Step number one is to identify your goals. If you'd like to follow along with me, you can actually download. I'm going to put the link in the chat, and you can download the worksheet right now and follow along. Give me a second. Link for worksheet, copy. I'm like professional right now. So professional. All right, so that's the link to the worksheet. It's a Drive folder. You just go in there, download it, and then you can follow along with us. I'm going to transition into my split screen, and I don't think I'm going to transition back, because every time I transition back live, I end up screwing it up. So this is what I'm looking at right here, bud. So this is the boat buying worksheet that I've set up just for this webinar, and basically it goes through the same kind of things that we're going to talk about: the sailing goals, your cruise size, your primary use, and then your budget. You make a short list of boats. Here's how to identify problems with each type of boat, and then evaluation and review at the very end. Okay. So if you'd like to follow along, you can download that with that link, or the link is in the description. So listen up. This. Right. Looks like we're live. Sweet. There we go. I've got to click back and forth. Here we go. All right. So step number one, when you're choosing a boat, is to decide what you want to do with it. This is the most important thing, and a lot of the time you don't even know. I mean, I do a lot of consultations with people that they just tell me, like, okay, well, I don't really want to do anything this year because I'm very confident to go offshore. But what I'd like to do is get a boat that's capable of doing something in the future. Maybe I want to sail from Florida to Bahamas. Or maybe I want to sail across the Atlantic, which is just crazy because that's two completely different skill sets. But you don't know what you don't know yet, and you don't know how that learning curve is going to go, and you don't know if you're going to be still afraid to be offshore, but you have grand dreams. It's like somebody that wants to circumnavigate that's never sailed before. If you're driven enough, you can learn, but you need to decide this is the kind of boat you want, because boats are built for purpose, like cars. This is the only analogy I have with boats and cars, because boats are not like cars in any other way. Everybody likes to kind of group them together and think that if you buy a new car, that you don't have any problems for the first 100,000 miles because the car manufacturer is going to take care of it. That is not the way it works with boats. But in this instance, boats are like cars in they're built for purposes. You don't want to get a four-wheel drive Jeep if you're going to be cruising around with your family of 7. You know what I mean? That's just not, or whatever. Choose your analogy there, but they're built for purpose. Land Rovers and Jeep Cherokees and Lexuses are different cars. You don't want to take a McLaren with your family. You know what I mean? Like there's different ones. So so I guess I beat that to death, didn't I? These lives are really funny. It's fun to hang out with you guys and teach you guys, but it's always a little nerve-wracking for us, I got to take a break here and put some of this ridiculously good miel, what's it called in English? Honey with peppercorns. So it's like really hot honey in my tea. And I have 2 cups of tea right now, look. Just prepared for you guys. At the very end of this, we're going to go through some boats together, and I'll show you some different price points and like what I'm looking at, and we'll evaluate a couple boats. Well, I'll open it up and I'll actually evaluate the entire boat for you. So if you guys have any questions about specific boats, now's your time, because that's what we're going to be doing in about half an hour. First, I want to show you guys exactly where I go and how I find all these boats. So after the step number 2, after you figure out what you're going to do with the boat, is to start shortlisting boats and actually find boats. So how do you find out what kind of boats you want to find? Like before you go to the Yachtworld or Sailboat Listings or the forums of Craigslist or Facebook, how do you figure out what boats are available? Like what boats fit under this criteria? Like I want a boat that's under 150,000, that's above 37 feet, that will hold this much fuel, that is Bluewater capable, has an encapsulated keel or not, but is built to withstand, Beaufort Force 8 or above, right? Well, that is your job here. This is the most important part and the hardest part. So just going onto Yachtworld and searching in that criteria is not enough, because there's not all the boats that have ever been made in the history of man available right now in your specific characteristics. If you think about it, probably most of the better boats aren't available. You know what I mean? There's not a lot of them. Like for instance, my boat I think it's one of the best built boats that's around 50 feet and under $300,000, and there's only 36 of them. So they're not on the market all the time. But this is a boat that should be on your short list if you have 300 grand. So where do you go to find that information? Step 1 is the Cruisers Forum. Cruisers Forum is a double-edged sword, because you get a lot of people that have opinions, and a lot. After you've read this forum enough, you can kind of tell, but a lot of people defend the ever-living shit out of their boat, because there's something that happens when you put so much effort and money and energy and time and blood into a boat that it becomes, you're backwards rationalizing the good parts about that boat. So I tell people, don't really listen to any advice from people that own the boat that you're looking at. Try to find people that owned in the past and now have moved on to a different boat or not sailing anymore, and then they'll give you the more straight skinny about boats. But you have to filter out those types of comments. But what you can do is say, there's so much information on that website, Cruisers Forum, that you can literally either ask a question, start a new thread and ask a question, or just search through the old threads and say, best blue water cruisers between this price range or between this foot range. And that's a really good way to open yourself up. There's also magazine articles. So if you do a Google search for best cruising boats under 50 grand or whatever, you're, between 100 and 200,000 or 2 and 500,000, you'll find magazine articles that have been written in the past 20 years just about that. And this is a great way to figure out, okay, these are the boats I'm looking at, and then what you want to do is you want to bounce them against. Let me go to sailboatdata.com. Am I still on? Are you guys? Am I doing good? Let's see. Dano's here. What's up? Clive is here. Rainmaker's here. What's up? What's up? What's up? Graham is here. Guys, thanks for joining. That's super cool. Little Barn, Zach, Fred Schmidt's still here. Dano. Yep. Everybody from the salon is here. Let me know. Yes, all good. Good. Okay. Please let me know in the comments if something freezes. I'm in Cartagena, Colombia. I can switch over to my phone, but it doesn't have the same latency. So sometimes the internet in my apartment goes out. So this is sailboat data. I'm hoping you can see this. Yes, you should be able to. Why does it still say marketplace? Here we go. Let's see. Are you guys seeing the sailboat data here? Or are you guys still seeing the marketplace thing? Give me a second. Why is this? Marketplace. Okay, cool. Cancel. I've got the wrong. It's not updating for me. Okay. Why is it not updating? Let me see. Give me just 1 second. Window capture. Control. Google Chrome. There we go. Haha! There we go. All right. Sorry about that. I had it on the wrong setting. This user interface that I use, I'm not a expert at it. So now we got what I'm looking at online. You guys can see with my little head, my little floating head. Okay, so this is sailboat data. So what you're going to do is you're going to go and you're going to Google like best boats, best offshore sailboats between 40 and 50 feet. Okay. And you're going to come up with a litany. Even ChatGPT is going to come up and give you something. The Avni, the Beneteau, this is not right at all. Hansa, no. Jonano, no. Kraken, hell yeah. Dude, they put Kraken and Odyssey, I'm sorry, and Jano and Avni at the same freaking... And Pogo 44, come on, dude. Somebody needs to teach this guy something. Pogos are race boats, guys. Don't buy a Pogo if you're going to go offshore. They're great boats. They're fun. But there's a difference between fun and safe. Anyway, Cruisers Forum right here. That's a good one. There's also Sail Anarchy. Reddit is actually a pretty good site for that kind of stuff. And then you'll find that if you scroll in long enough, you'll find a bunch of magazine articles. So magazine articles are the way to go too. Okay. Very, very good. Cruising World is one. Latitudes and Attitudes, Sail, all those magazines will have articles in the past. Like almost every issue, they have some kind of, the problem is having them, like treating them biased, because they're not really unbiased. You can't really use, a paid magazine article about a boat to be a really good, bearer of unbiased information. All right. So let's talk about where, after you're done researching, what boats are available, what boats are going to be the best for me, what boats are going to be offshore capable. And now offshore capable can be defined as a lot of different ways. Beneteau seems to think that the CE certification for category A is good enough to call themselves offshore capable. I don't think so. I think that's kind of bullshit, to tell you the truth. I'm going to do a video about this, but the CE certification, the crazy part is, in the States, you don't even have to have a certification to call the boat offshore. There is no regulating body in the United States for that. So even if you wanted some kind of certification, there is nothing. Do I think that the government should come in and take that over? No, I don't. I'm not a proponent for more government, but I do think that there should be something else other than the minimum ratings for CE through the EU to be the classification of offshore boats. So basically, we're in this uncharted waters here, and I'm trying to tell you that just because a Beneteau 50 is classified as Class A CE, and that's for Beaufort Force 8, that doesn't mean that it's made for offshore. It's totally, there needs to be another system here. Maybe I'll start one where I say, this is the 100 criteria that it takes, and some boats come and some boats lose there. But anyway, just so you guys know, that's how the classification system works, categorically in a government regulation body. Now, how I personally view the offshore boats is I use sailboat data. So when I go to sailboat data and I look up a boat, say I don't know if you guys know about this, but you can compare boats. So you go to sailboats here, and then let's compare a Hunter Legend 37 or 38 with actually let's do a 50 145 from 1980. Actually, let's do 145 cc from 2005, and then we'll do a Halberg Rossi 45. Here we go, from 1995. Here's a 48. Here's a 44 from 2016. All right, now we click on the plus and we click to compare. And now I can look at up to 3 boats right next to each other, which is super cool. So Hunter 45cc is something that I consider not an offshore boat. I've seen a lot of Hunters. I've been on a lot of Hunters. I've sailed them. I wouldn't take one across the ocean. Haber-Grassi, on the other hand, is built for offshore. So this is what you're looking at here is the sail area displacement, ballast displacement, and displacement length. And honestly, in my opinion, personally, I actually like a little bit lower sail area displacement. This is the amount of sail you have compared to the weight of the boat. And the reason I like it to be a little lower is because it's a little more, it's not as tender. It's a little more forgiving when you screw up, because you are going to screw it up. So if you're sailing along, full sails up, you go down, you're making food, autopilot's on, you're having fun, and a squall comes in and it hits you with double the wind speed, you know, on a boat with less sails or a ketch, you're not gonna heel over as far. You're not gonna hit the water. When you do broach, because it does happen, the boat will just heel over, round up, and then your sails will start flapping. Your dinner won't fly everywhere. On a boat with like a 25 sail area displacement, that's a race boat, and those things are way more tender and not as forgiving, and you have to pay attention more. Most importantly, though, we're looking at ballast to displacement. This ballast to displacement ratio should be above 35 for an offshore cruiser, and closer to 40 if you really want to have a good, solid, comfortable boat offshore. That's debatable, but 32 is not enough in my opinion. And then almost the most important thing, and the thing that will make the biggest difference, is the displacement to length. So this 170 is really, really low. And actually, I picked the wrong boat, because this Haber-Grassi 44 is very, very low as well. Yeah. Let me go back and I'll show you guys this. Watch this. I'm going to go to another Haber-Grassi. We're going to do a 46. Haber-Grassi. I was trying to get it as close as I can, but I know the 46 is a better boat. So we're going to go to 46. And we're going to go, where is it? Compare. Oh, I already X'd out of it. Hunter. 40, what did I say? 45. Here we go. Boom. Now we can compare these two. And now this number will come up better. Displacement to length on the Haber-Grassi 46 is 272. So the Haber-Grassi has like a division now where they're building lighter boats. So that was a bad analogy, but I know this boat, and I've been sailing on this boat. This is a good boat. So 272 is more like, yeah, that's a strong, heavy, good offshore boat. And then I've taught you guys before how to look at the side profile of the boat and see that it's got some forefoot. You want some boat underwater. You don't want like most of the boat out of the water and just a real thin piece of boat in the water. That makes for slapping and pounding and all kinds of, horrible things. So, point being, this whole conversation, back on track now, is this displacement to length is what you need to be looking at. The comfort ratio is kind of a joke. It does help, but it was just kind of like written on a bar napkin one day, and then people use it as gospel now. But it doesn't take into account like the depth of the keel and where the weight is stored, and the type of mast and all that stuff. It really doesn't. So displacement to length is one that doesn't really lie. So anyway, that's what you should be looking at. And of course, you need a capsize screening ratio under 2. That was from the Whitbread race in 79. No, Fastnet race of 79. Let me go some to you, and I'm going to answer some of your questions real quick. Graham says, get you JE rating. Yeah, I think that's a good idea. Like the Zingaro rating or the JE rating, yeah. Oh boy, there's a lot of questions here. Holy crap, you guys. Jesus. I really appreciate that. I really appreciate you guys are paying attention. We're going to get to the juicy part now. I just wanted to make sure that you guys understand how to assess boats. Okay, so how do you actually find them? This is where you start. this is Yachtworld. This is what Yachtworld is a site. It's actually the same conglomerate that owns Yachtworld and Boats.com and Boat Trader. If you notice, the sites are almost exactly the same because it's the same. It's the same search engine, like the engine algorithm and everything. It's the same people that own all that. But different boats will be listed on those. And brokers, the reason Yachtworld kind of sucks is, one, the site doesn't work all the time, and two, it costs a crap load of money for the brokers. Brokers pay like $3 or $4 grand a month to be able to use this site. And they have what's called comps. So brokers go in after they sell a boat and they record, like, this is what the boat was listed for, this is what the boat actually sold for, and that data is kept by Yachtworld and then accessible only if you pay. So it's behind a paywall for brokers, and then the brokers have access to that, and that's a really good database. And the reason that brokers pay so much for this service, but they're really like screwing over the brokers, and the brokers have actually broken off and started a new web site, a new search engine site. So I like to promote that just because it's a cool one, and I want the brokers to get, not get screwed by the man, So that one's called Yachter, YACHTR.com, and that one is made and used by brokers. They're compiling their own data for comps, and yeah, I've never bought or sold a boat on Yachter, but it's a fairly new thing in the last few years that's coming up, and they don't screw the brokers out. All right, so let's start with Yachtworld since it's the biggest site and the one that most people use. This is all brokered boats though, so anybody that wants to sell their boat by owner will not have a boat here. My boat is currently for sale. It's not on Yachtworld because I don't want to pay 10% to a broker, and I'm not really in a hurry to sell. I like my boat. We're going to Sound Blast like in 2 weeks. I mean, money or spearfishing every day. It's hard. Anyway, so I've already done the work for you, and I've put a very extensive list. This isn't every single boat, okay? If I missed a boat here, I'm freaking sorry. I don't know every single manufacturer of boats. Look how many manufacturers there are that I do know, and a lot of these I've been sailing on. There's like 100. Then there's probably 100 more that I didn't select. So it's daunting to go through all this. The reason I did this is because these are all the ones that I trust that, don't take this as gospel. They might, every make has different designers, and sometimes the designer is not good. For instance, the Norseman. I said in one of my videos in the past that the Norseman 447 was a great boat, which it is. But the Norseman 400 is not a good boat because the Norseman 400 was designed by a different designer. And that designer, while being a very, very technical, very good designer, wasn't a sailor. And he put the keel in the wrong spot. You can read about it under, if you search for Norseman 400 Bob Perry, there's a post on Sailing Anarchy that you can read that he pretty much has the most scathing review for that boat. And, you got to trust Bob Perry and love him. Anyway, this is not gospel. Okay, but what you do is you come in here, you go down, you say if you want to search by location, because I know a lot of you guys are not looking to, bring a boat from the West Coast to the East Coast or from the States to Europe or, vice versa. And you can do by radius, you can do by country, you can do by west, east, southwest, southeast. It's actually really cool. So basically, like say someone's in Seattle, I'd go United States, and then wait till it updates, and then region. Come on, baby. Uh-oh. Hope I'm still online. Oh, man. That's not working. Now it says Netherlands. Oh, it's just being really freaking slow. Am I still okay? Anyway, you get the point, right? You can do region, and then you can do West Coast, and then it'll narrow it down to like, there's only 50 boats now, 57 boats in the Netherlands, even though I've narrowed it down to 100 different brands. So if you're in the Netherlands and you want to stay in the Netherlands and you want an offshore boat, look at this and then put your either your country or your location or your region and then your price point. So say I wanted to have like $150,000 boat, I would search from probably 110,000 to I'd say 175,000, because usually you can get a little discount on boats. Okay, so I have 150,000. I'm Dutch, and I want to search Yachtworld for any boats available on my list, and it's frozen. That's awesome. I might have too many. There we go. Oh, there's a Koopmans. I love those boats. Those are cool. 7 boats. So if you have $150,000 and you're in the Netherlands and you want to stay in the Netherlands, there, in my opinion, are 7 boats available on Yachtworld right now that you can buy. The Bowmans are cool. Anyway, we'll go through that later. Now, how do we find the boats like mine that are not on Yachtworld? We go to our friend Facebook. Facebook Marketplace. Wrong place to find boats. That is very hit and miss. You can get a lot of weird boats. You can find a lot of real crazy projects. Not the best place. Facebook buy owner groups, way better. This is the for sale by owner only group. It's got 221,000 members. I'm a member. I'm one of the 0.1K members. And there's a crap load of boats that are, oh, why did it do that? There's a crap load of boats that are updated every single day, and then you can search through here. There's a search right here. Okay, so go on there. You can search groups on Facebook, and then go onto the Facebook groups. Ask permission to be a member of those. Catamarans for sale by owner also. This is 86,000. There's another catamaran for sale by owner site that I think that's got more, but that the Facebook groups are where you want to go. Facebook Marketplace, not so much. Craigslist. People still use Craigslist. A lot of people still use Craigslist. Craigslist, you can find some crazy deals, man. I've seen some really nice boats sell for really cheap on Craigslist because the people that owned them didn't know that there was other avenues to market them and didn't want to go through a broker. So the broker probably could have paid for themselves 10 times over, but they just didn't know. So this is where you can go. When you are going to Craigslist, instead of looking at every single city and searching every single city, there's 2 sites that you can use. One's called Search Tempest and one's called searchcraigslist.net, this one. And basically it searches all of Craigslist and puts it in there. And this is mostly just American. I think most of Craigslist is American people using it. So if you're outside of the States, this doesn't apply to you. Sailboatlistings.com. I actually did buy a boat on Sailboat Listings once. I bought a Catalina 27 and I lived on it for over a year with my dog. And yeah, it was great. This is kind of hit and miss too because Sailboat Listings is not a site that they clean very often. So there's listings up here from like 2015. So let's say you're looking for a specific boat. We're going to search for a boat. I'm going to say keyword. Oh, what do we want? We want an island packet. And it comes up with all the island packets for sale. But the thing is, they're in order of added. So this was added on the 17th last week. And you can go down to the bottom. This is from 2023, 18 July 2023, so like a year and a half ago. That one's probably either gone or the guys decided not to sell it. So you got to watch. This is what you want added. Okay? Are you guys all with me so far? You guys all here? All right. Let's see. Sam M is here. I'm going to go back and I'm going to read these comments and I'm going to pick out some questions from you guys at the end. Okay, we're getting through it. Let's see. 100% Free Geek says I'm 100% ready to learn about overweight 40-year-old pieces of crap. Okay, I do actually really like this comment because this is a comment that's very obtuse. So in my opinion, uh, the newer boats, newer than like, the, how do I explain this to you guys? I just delivered a Beneteau 47.7 from 2004, and the boat is being currently in the process of being scrapped. Complete junk, garbage. It's going to be written off by the insurance company. Why? And I'm lucky that the keel didn't fall off like the Cheeky Rafiki in 2014, because production companies started using this grid system where instead of inherently hand laying up the hull of a sailboat and building it correctly, they figured out a way to cut the costs and glue in the structure. So instead of having to pay someone to put stringers down and then glass over the stringers, and then that gives all the structure to the boat and make the hull real thick, they just make two molds, one for a very, very thin hull that's just one real thin piece like an eggshell, and then one for a grid system, and then they glue the grid system in the boat, and they call it good. In my opinion, that is a horrible way to build boats. And I've seen many, many, many boats that have barely run aground completely break that grid off. This 47.7 that I just delivered broke the grid off in the front because it was pounding. It's just not a good way to build an offshore boat. There is a place for those boats, inshore, coastal, the ones that are for lakes and for the moorings people that are renting them in the BVI, and that you can go between the BVI and Antigua. Okay, that's like 100 miles, not a big deal. But if you want an offshore boat, if you want to cruise, if you want to actually go far, that grid system is not a good way to have a boat, especially for your family, man. And I know a lot of you have these newer grid system boats, and I'm sure that some of them are great. I think there are companies that glass them into the hull, but as far as like the Beneteau group, which owns Beneteau, Lagoon, Jeanneau, they're all the same people. And in my opinion, those boats are not good. So when you comment that we're looking at, you know, like 40-year-old pieces of shit, that's your opinion. But what we're looking at is boats that are built correctly, that have the hull integrate the stringers and the stiffness and the bulkheads. They're all one piece, because that's what a boat needs when it's off in, you know, 15 or 20 foot waves and 40 knots of wind, which you will see if you're actually cruising. Yes, it could be, you know, like a 1% or 5% use case, but you will see it. I was just hove to in 50 knot gusts for a whole night off the shore of Cape Hatteras in December with my boat, and there was another boat, a Jeanneau, that got rescued by helicopter that same night. I'm just saying, I've seen it. So those comments, I mean, you're perpetuating something that doesn't really exist. If you would just read into it more and learn a little bit more about it, then I think you might agree with me that the boats that I'm suggesting for you are built better. And, you know, if you have enough money, you can get a newer version. It's not that all of them have to be 40 years old. It's just all the boats that you've seen me recommend have been 40 years old, because I've only gone through 50,000 and 100,000. I'm not even halfway done with this series. I'm going to go to 200,000, 500,000, and then like over $1 million. And those will be the really cool boats. But unless you got $1 million, you're not going to be able to get a Kraken 50. You know what I mean? So I appreciate the comment, but please think about it before you perpetuate that information, because, you know, those boats that are built 40 years ago they're still floating, they're still doing good. This Jeanneau or Beneteau that's being scrapped is 19 years old, and that's what I'm trying to teach people. Okay, I know that's going to piss a bunch of people off, but I don't care. That's what I think, and you can take it or leave it. If you don't like the what I'm trying to teach you, then go get your information from somebody else. Okay, where were we? Oh yeah, questions. Let's see. Do I need to register my boat in the country of purchase? That's a great question. No, you don't. You can deflag. It's called deflagging a boat, and then reflag the boat. Sometimes the deflagging process takes a long time. It depends on the country. A lot of the time it's really easy. Like I've got friends that bought boats in Brazil, deflagged them in Brazil, flagged them in the United States. I've got a buddy that bought a boat in the United States, deflagged it in the United States, flagged it again in Australia. By the way, Australia's got the best rules. And that was a very easy system. Usually in the EU, the United States, Australia, that's pretty easy, straightforward. Here's the form, pay the money, it gets done in a few weeks. If you're buying a boat from like Malaysia or Mozambique or Madagascar or something like that, it might take longer. And every once in a while, you get the horror story of somebody that like couldn't do it. So just make sure that you do your due diligence. It helps if you're doing that kind of thing to hire a broker. You can hire a broker for cash. You can just say, look, I'll pay you $1,000. You're gonna handle the escrow account and you're gonna handle the reflagging of the boat. And that's the better way, I think, to work with brokers is like on a that kind of basis or an hourly basis, because working with them on a percentage basis is difficult, and sometimes you can really lose. A couple of boats I'm eyeing, Tiana, will have cored hulls above the waterline. Besides rot, are all coring materials equal for strength? No. Some have better shear strength. Some have. This is a whole nother video, actually. A lot of the Australians and Kiwis, they love balsa. I think foam is better, just because I've had foam boats and balsa, and sucks up water and foam tends not to. Is it impermeable? No, and it will get bad and it will turn into mush. But yeah, no, I think having a cored hull above the waterline is it's a very common thing. You're not going to find a lot of solid hull boats. Like, let's see, the Oysters are solid. A lot of the Ta-Shing yard boats were solid, like the Masons and the Babas. Let's see, the Naughty Cats are solid. The whole hull is solid. That's about it. I mean, it's hard. It's really very, very cost prohibitive to make a solid glass boat. But if you've seen the pictures that I've showed on the actually, you know what I should do is show you guys that. I have some pictures of a Harbor Grassi that got rear-ended by a catamaran in the marina. So he was only doing like 2 or 3 knots, and it just point-loaded right on the hull, right above the waterline, and just exploded the whole boat, man. It looks bad, and totally pushed in all of the navigation station, and it just. I mean, I know it's point loading, but that I don't think that would have happened on a solid glass hull boat. Obviously, wouldn't happen on a metal boat or an aluminum boat. Carlos E says, James, what about a Moody 54? I love Moody 54s. Those are great boats. If you'd like, we can go through it together. If you're serious about a boat, you guys, I do consultations. I love doing consultations. They really help people out. I've got one later tonight. Where people, they pay me and I go through the exact boat that they want, and I say, look, this is what you're looking for. We pull up the sailboat data. I give them all the data. I give them what I know. I give them all the different sites. I compare different boats with them, and then I give them different options. Like, look, these other boats are similar as well at the same price point, and it really helps a lot of people. They're like, oh shit, I didn't even know that boat existed. So if you're interested, yeah, you can do that. I don't have the time to go through the Moody 54. It takes about an hour to really go through that. But yes, I like Moody's. They're nice boats. Lurch says, in your opinion, what catamarans are made for blue water cruising? Oh, this isn't about catamarans yet. I will do a cat video. I promise you. I will get to the catamarans. I know you guys all love catamarans, but this is about monohulls. So I have 45,000 miles on cats. I love catamarans. I have a little PTSD because my last catamaran ripped in half and tried to kill me. But I still like them, and there's a bunch of them that I love. And I love that the catamaran world is starting to dip their toes more into aluminum cats. I think that's going to be super fun. There's going to be a lot of really cool innovations in cat building. But again, I need to do a whole series of videos to tell you guys like where that technology came from, and then how it works having 2 hulls, and they're trying to move independently, and they're stressing out. There's really high loads on catamarans. They're fast. There's just so much that is so different that I can't talk about catamarans and monohull at the same time. I will promise you, I will get to that. And we'll do a catamaran versus monohull, which one I like and why. I've been waiting for a long time to do that video. I had about 45,000 miles on cats, and then now I have about 45,000 miles on monos, and now I feel like maybe I'm ready to do that comparison. Like, this is what I really think about cat versus mono. I feel like not 100%, but like 98% that I'm knowledgeable enough to do that comparison for you. Warm cats, yeah. I don't want to talk about cats on this one. This is for monohulls. On the next one, we'll do cats. Promise. Captain Cinch says, what are the downsides of island packets compared to other boats you've recommended? Island packets, they're slower, and they're full keel, so that that's where the downside is. Their upside of them is they're full keel. So they're great boats, and they're super strong, and you can run them aground, and you can, for newer sailors, a lot of people that have island packets, I'm parked right next to one. That Beneteau 47.7 right now, I pulled it out of the water last week. There's an island packet 420 right next to it. I talked to the guy ad nauseum. He had a island packet 380 before, so he's sold on island packets. He drank the Kool-Aid on island packets, and he loves them. So a lot of people do, and I don't think like them being a little slow is really, it goes back to what I said before about the sail area displacement thing. Kind of better that it's slower and that it's heavier and that it's harder and that it's harder to kill. You know what I mean? That's a boat where you could drag anchor, end up on the beach, drag the thing off the beach with your 2 kedging anchors, and then just have a paint job at the end. Rather than, you choose a Jeanneau because it's got a lot more cockpit space, and that thing is, you got to take the mast off and then take the keel off and then change the keel bolts because they're bent, and then re-glass the whole boat. But then the grid doesn't really work, so you got to like cut out the whole grid to access the hull, and then fix the hull, and then fix the grid, and then it ends up being like 6, 7, 8 months of work, rather than a paint job, for $300. That's the difference. That's the difference between getting a boat that's made for purpose and getting a boat that has a pretty cockpit. I hope that answers your question. I like those boats. They're good boats. I prefer having something that sails a little bit up closer to the wind, in my opinion. That's just my opinion. That's not everybody's opinion. I've sailed enough where I especially on my cat, where I was making like 55 degrees to the wind, and now on my oyster I can do like 40, and it makes a huge difference. You would think that wouldn't be a big deal, but holy moly, man, it's just a few degrees. It's like hours and hours and hours you have to wait pounding in the waves, you know what I mean? So the better sailing boat you have, after you get some experience, I think the better, that think of it like a triangle, like comfort, cost, sailing ability. You're going to have to lean a little bit more towards sailing ability, and eventually you're going to want something that sails well. Treetop Flyer says, love our Manta. Yeah, Mantas are good boats. I've been sailing. There's a charter boat that's a Manta 42 in Aruba, I think. Aruba? No, Bonaire. And I've been out on that boat. That's a nice boat. I coveted the Manta when I was on my Crowther cat. I really wanted a Manta. And what is the other daggerboard cat? The Katana. Oh man, those things are nice too. Anyway, we're not talking about cats. Bob says Neo 47 is very nice. Another cat. You guys really want to talk about cats, huh? I'm not gonna change it. I gotta get through this. Next one will be about cats, I promise. Tune in next week, where we talk about catamarans, trimarans, and everything in between. Let's see. Martin says, do the mono versus cat with Plucky. Yeah, that would be fun. I think I should involve Plucky. How's he doing? Is his boat in the water yet? I haven't talked to him in a while. Let's see. Albert says, when importing into the EU, an older boat must also have CE. Okay, that's a good thing to know. Martin says, if I ever bought a fiberglass boat, it would be a Naiad or a Havagrassi. Otherwise, I'm only looking at aluminum boats. You like Swedish boats, huh? That's good. All right, back on track. One other place that you can look for boats, other than sailboat listings, I'm going to X out of this, Cruisers Forum. So you go to cruisersforum.com. There's Cruisers Forum. You go up to forums, you go down to boat classifieds, and this is a great place to look for boats. I've bought a boat off Cruisers Forum. This is where I found my Crowther catamaran. My boat's on here. Look at that. I'm Sunset Slim. If you want to come and, I've only got 27 posts. I don't use this very often, but anyway, my boat's on here and it's for sale. And yeah, that's another place. The other way to do this is to go to specific yacht brokerages. I like to use La Paz Yachts because a lot of people, if you think about it, like big scale, a lot of people that live in California, they want to start cruising, they make it down to La Paz, they like it, but they don't really want to go farther. They didn't really like it in the first place. Their wife got seasick. They didn't realize how hard it would be. To go back up is a pain in the ass. It's 1,000 miles straight up wind, bashing, and they don't want to do that. So they end up leaving their boats in La Paz, which is on the top of the Sea of Cortez in Mexico, and kind of abandoning them and selling them for cheap. So you can find deals in La Paz, in anywhere that the trade winds blow into, and then it's really hard to get out of, like what's that lake in Guatemala? Oh man, the name escapes me. Panama is one. Raiatea is another one because it's very easy to sail across the Pacific, and then from there it gets more difficult. So a lot of people that, like, they'll just catch the trades right under Panama and ride the trades all the way to the Marquesas, and then make it down to Tahiti, and then be like, well, this is a lot more than I thought I don't want to do this anymore. And then they'll leave their boats in Raiatea with the Raiatea Yacht Services. So lapazyachts.com, raiateayacht.com. You'll find a lot of cool boats here that aren't on Yachtworld. Let's see if one of you guys commented with that damn river. Rio Dulce, nicely done. Yes, Rio Dulce is the place. So if you look in Rio Dulce, I found a Voyage 400. They were asking $210 for it. I offered them $105 and they accepted it. And then I had some problems. The deal ended up falling through, but 50%, man. Because that's another place where all those trades from the Caribbean are coming through, and they just they don't go anywhere after that. It's 500 miles to get from the Rio Dulce back out into navigable water to get up to Cuba or to get to Cayman Islands or down to Panama Canal or something. Okay, so that's where to find them. Now, let's see. I'm going to transition back out of this. Give me a second. There we go. Remind me to transition back if I don't remember. Let's talk about specific boats now, and let's talk about some red flags. So there's specific things that I'm looking for when I've already evaluated what boats are in my price range and my length range, and narrowed them down to my there's going to be 50 boats, and then 20 that you like, and then 10 that are available, and then of those 10, this is how you actually look at the listing and online and kind of do, like, I don't want to say an online survey, but this is what I do. So I'm going to show you. Transition. Oh, I remembered. Look at that. We're going to go to this one. Okay. We're gonna take our Dutch friend. We're gonna pretend that I'm Dutch. I'm in the Netherlands. I'm looking for a boat between 100 and 175,000, right around 150 somewhere. And I'd like to stay in the Netherlands. Okay, I don't want to sail it from another country. So there's 7 boats. There's only 7. I really like this Hylas 44. That's a badass boat. That Notter Swan is a nice boat too. That Koopmans is a really nice boat too. That Van de Stant, those are nice. Bowmans are cool because the way I understand Bowman is I think they were all hulls. Like Bowman sold hulls, and then they were fit out by the owners. A lot of them by a professional yard. One of the prettiest boats I ever seen in my life was a Bowman 62, and it was owned by a guy that was a importer exporter for wood, and oh my God, was beautiful. It had not only a teak tow rail, but it had a teak cap rail along the lifelines. It had teak boxes in the back. Every room inside the boat was like a different wood. So the salon was not mahogany, but what's the really dark wood? Oh man, the real black looking wood was really pretty grain. And then the front was cherry and the back was wood. It was just really pretty. Anyway, so I'm going to go with, let's try this 1991 Hades 44, just because this one will probably have more problems. So what I do, if I'm seriously considering a boat, is I go to the ad and I get on the pictures and I download every single picture. I save it as whatever it's going to be into my downloads folder, and I download 97 pictures if it has 97 pictures. And that way, whoops, save image as, boom. And then when I go through, then I've got the highest resolution version of that picture, and I can zoom in. And this is about as far as I can zoom in online. But if I download the picture, I can zoom in farther. So what I'm looking for here is this a screwed down deck, or is it a vacuum bagged deck? And I can see some plug holes here. So this is a screwed down deck, I think. I can't tell really well. And in that case, you're going to have some problems with the 40-year-old screwed down deck, or 30. This is 30 years old, 34 years old screwed down deck. It's probably going to be time to take that deck up. Another red flag for me for any boat is when the wood has been refinished. This has been refinished with oil, so that's not a big deal. But when the boat has been sealed and it looks like it's varnished, when you see a wood deck like this that looks varnished, like they varnished it inside, like they put lacquer on it, usually what that is the thing was leaking like a sieve, and they used this special product that it's like really thin epoxy, and it just gets in everywhere, seeps in and soaks in enough where it's not going to leak when it's raining anymore. Yeah, that's great if you're going to stay at the dock forever. But if you're actually going to go sailing, that stuff, the boat, as soon as it flexes, it'll just break, and it doesn't really work that well. So eventually you're going to have to take that up. So what I prefer, especially on an older boat, when I go to look at it, I want to see nice, clean, gray decks that are, that I can see any problems. I don't mind if there's a couple of spots that are a problem, but that's just the nature of teak. I'm looking at the running rigging. I'm looking to see how green it is, because you can tell how long a boat's been sitting by how green the lines are. The mold starts, growing around here, especially in the backside where the sun don't shine, where it stays wet. Like right here, you can see the greenness. That is indicative of they haven't changed that for a long time. All right. Let's see what else. It looks to me like all the canvas on the boat looks nice. This boat's been used in the past. All the running rigging looks like it's fairly supple still. I think this is a horrible picture with all those fenders hanging on the back. Why would you put that up here? This boat probably is not a real big cruising boat unless it's got a big generator on it, because there's no solar, there's no wind, there's no bimini. It looks like there was a bimini at one point. Oh, there's cup holders though. That's a big thing. The hatches look good. These type of hatches that have these are not Lumar hatches. These are better style hatches, and it has better style port lights too. It looks good. This boat looks nice. Okay, now that we're on the inside of the boat, this is what I'm really looking for, and this is why I download all of the pictures. What I'm doing is I'm zooming in and I'm trying to find some water damage here. And some water damage is not that bad, guys. It's not the end of the freaking world if you have some water damage. Like most plastic boats, I'm going to go as far as to say every single plastic boat leaks somewhere. And if it doesn't leak today, it'll leak tomorrow. This stuff needs to be rebedded constantly, especially if you're using the boat a lot. So like the mast boot, that wears out. the hatch, not only the actual articulating hatch part seals, but the actual hatch bedding needs to be rebedded every once in a while. I've done all of my hatches on my boat at least twice, sometimes some of them 3 times, and I've only owned it for 5 years. So, but I go real far, and the boat's flexing a lot. It's not uncommon for these port lights to start leaking. So if it's got some water damage, what will happen is on this style boat, it'll come down, it'll be caught here, and then depending on whether the boat leans to the front or the back, it'll all come down and it'll start coming down right here. So you'll have a big water stain here. And that can be fixed. It's not a big deal. It's just veneer. Unless it's completely stained the wall and then gotten to the bottom of the bulkhead, and then it'll start seeping into the plywood. Most of these boats, actually most boats, almost all production boats, are all plywood. This is all plywood. They're not solid glass here or anything. It's just a piece of like 3/4 inch plywood that they cut out, and then they put a veneer on top. Well, they veneer it first, and then they cut it, and then they put it on the boat. So it looks super pretty, but the veneer is held on by glue, and if water gets in between the veneer and the glue, it saturates the veneer, gets into the glue, and just the veneer pops off. What you can do is tear the veneer off and then put new veneer on. You can almost match it perfectly, and you really can't tell. So, and people that are coming on the boat aren't going to know the difference. If someone's really, really looking for that, they can say, oh, okay, this has been replaced. Not a big deal. They've probably had water damage. Let's make sure that they don't have any water coming in now, and let's make sure that the bulkhead on the bottom didn't saturate and become soft, because that'll screw up the whole dynamic of the boat, because the boat uses that bulkhead to be stiff. All right, it needs it. Okay, do you guys all follow me so far? So this boat looks really pretty. It doesn't look like there's any water damage as far as I can tell from this picture. The cushions, whatever, dude. Those are so cheap and so easy to repair. The mast looks fine. There's no big rust marks coming down the mast. Table looks okay. All of this stuff, like the table, the sofas, all that stuff, if it's got a rip or a stain in it, who cares, dude? That's a couple of $1,000. You're looking for stuff that's like structural problems right now, right? The aesthetic of the boat is going to be something else. So this is a cool thing to think about when you're looking at a boat. You guys are all following me here still. I'm still online. I haven't even looked. Okay, cool. So I appreciate you guys' time. Listen, when you're looking at a boat, this is somebody's lover. This is somebody's girlfriend. This is someone that owns this boat loved this boat. Probably the owner now. And you can tell by little things like, I don't think this is this boat. This is a different boat. But if they have a model of their boat or a picture, or even better, a painting of this boat, and it's posted on the boat, they freaking love their boat. And that, you can tell if they've put custom mattresses on the boat. They like spending time on the boat. They like sleeping on the boat. If they've upgraded things, like there's a different levels of yacht ownership. There's the guy that doesn't do anything, that just beats it into the ground and sells it. There's the guy that wants it to be OEM and just replaces that incandescent bulb with the exact same incandescent bulb, doesn't repair it or upgrade it or anything. And then there's the guys that are just like, whatever I do on this boat, I'm going to get the best thing for it. I'm going to pay the best price for it, because I know if I buy cheap, I buy twice. And I love this boat, and I'm going to commission a painting of me with the boat on the boat. And those are the kind of people that you want to buy a boat from. So this guy might be that kind of person. You never know. I see some signs of that. Let's see. I don't see any water damage in here. The fiddles look really nice. These are nice boats, these Hylas. These have problems with their chain plates. So like the hidden problems of Hylas, same as Island Packet, the old Island Packets. They had integrated chain plates. And they would put the chain plate in the boat and then glass over the chain plate. Rather than when they build the hull, they build like a nub for the chain plate, and the chain plate bolts onto that nub. Or like the way they do it in the Oysters is they have a glass bulkhead, like a solid glass bulkhead, and then they bolt through that solid glass bulkhead, and that bulkhead is fully tabbed to the hull, so it's like part of the hull. These ones, they just stuck it on the hull, glassed over it, and that's what, like that's how they did it. What happens is the adhesive on the deck goes out, and it starts to come down in. It starts to get into the fiberglass, delaminate it, and then rusty bullshit comes down, and like that's a problem with all chain plates. All chain plates need to be replaced, even if they're mounted to the hull, mounted outside the hull. After 30 years, they go bad. So, just so you know, I don't know if this is one of those with the integrated chain plates or not. This is pretty. I'm still not even, I don't care about this. I don't care about the covers on any of this crap. What I'm looking for is here on the port lights. These ports are nice. They're nice metal ones. I'd like to change those on my boat. I have plastic ones. Yeah, these hatches and ports are nice. I bet you this one leaks every once in a while. I don't see any like really bad water damage on this thing. It looks nice. I like the layout. The cool thing about these hylases is this is open down here, so when you're cooking, this is not blocking your view from talking to everybody. I really like that, and that's something that they've continued to do on all their boats. And the Bluewater boats, they broke up from Hylas, and they are doing that as well. So I like the way that this is laid out. Yeah, head. You have to go through the head, or is that just where both sides have a? Oh, both sides have a passage. Is that right? That's kind of cool. Or do you have to go through the head to get back there? That's kind of weird. Anyway, it's a boat, so you're gonna have to have some kind of. Wow, the headliner looks good. The walls look good. This is a great looking boat. Anyway, that's what I'm looking for on a 91. Just cursory glance. First thing, I'm zooming in and I'm trying to find anything that's damaged, and mostly due to water, especially on a plastic boat. All right, let's go to some of your questions. I'm gonna go up a little bit. Let's see, Cal 48. If you can find one, it's a great cruising boat. Yes, Cals are good boats. I really like Cals. I've seen them only at the Annapolis Boat Show. They are pretty. No cats. Clive says no cats. Yeah, I mean, I think there is a place for cats. The dynamic with cats is that with a monohull boat, the monohull boat spills, it heels over, it spills all the kinetic energy of the wind off, and then it rounds up. So if you get hit by double wind speed and you're going along with full sails, boom, hits, rounds up, all that energy spills away. It doesn't transfer into the rig. On a catamaran, it transfers into the rig, it transfers into the hull, it transfers into the beams, the stringers, and the blocks. I mean, I've had blocks just explode, and you have to be more vigilant when you're sailing them. And honestly, I like being a little bit lazier. Plus, it's a little safer on a monohull boat in that respect. Not to say monohull boats are safer, just I'm not going to have the same chances of a block exploding into shrapnel as a catamaran would. And that's why most of the guys that are sailing a long way, most of my sailing skipper friends that do professional delivery skipper, John Kretschmer of Kretschmer Sailing, Nate and Viv that work for John Kretschmer, Andy Schnell from 59 Degrees North, Ryan Rayfield of Sail Libra, all have monohulls because, in their opinion, I've talked ad nauseum with them about this, you own a mono and you rent a cat. Cats are for when you want to party and you want to be the party boat and you want to have fun with your friends and you're not really going that far. In my opinion, that's kind of the way I feel. Now, can you sail around the world on a cat? Hell yeah, man. There's so many cats that are cool, that are so capable. If Outremer called me and said, "Hey, man, we want to give you an Outremer 55," would I turn him down? Hell no, dude. That's a badass boat. And there are ways that you can mitigate and deal with the shortcomings of those boats. Shortcomings of a monohull boat is you're heeled over at 20 degrees all the time, or 16 degrees, or whatever the boat likes to be at. But in my opinion, they're just a better ride. Let's see. Opinion on the Boreal. Boreal boats are badass. I haven't gotten up to that point yet, but I will be doing a 500 to $1 million boats. And when I get to the $1 million boats, I'll definitely include Boreal. They're great boats. There are some shortcomings with them too, but yeah, very cool. If you have the money for an aluminum boat, give me a call, man. I love aluminum catamarans and aluminum boats. There's a plethora of them, and not all of them are created equal. Will you do another live next week? Susan says, yes, I'm going to do a live stream every week and do like a boat buying live stream for each. Right now we're up to 100,000, so this one's going to be catered towards 100,000 at the very end. Next week, catamarans. I am in. Yeah, I'll do catamarans. I will. I don't know if it'll be next week. This is the problem, guys. Catamarans, there's just so much information. Just like monohull boats. So like I'm on my 10th video, right? I did the Bluewater 101 series. That was 2 videos, actually 3 that I have recorded. I just haven't put out the 3rd one yet. And then that was just to teach everybody like this is how the manufacturing process works. And then I've done 50,000 and 100,000, and then I'll do 250,000 or 200,000. I'm not sure. And it's a process. So just be patient with me. Bob Plasic says, my wife's triangle is the only one that counts. That's a cat. Yeah, well, that's the trade-off. Yeah. A lot of people get sick, and my girl gets sick too. So I totally understand you. Not to say they won't get sick on a cat. And sometimes cats' motion is worse. I think might be a fallacy. I think you should get on a cat and get on a monohull boat. Do 1,000-mile trip on a cat and 1,000-mile trip on a mono, and then you'll know. Then you'll really feel it. It's about feel. Sailing's about feel. I try to tell people that when they come sailing with me. I'm like, stop looking at the screen, man. Sailing is about feel. You can feel. The boat will tell you when it wants to be reefed. It'll tell you when it's overpowered. When you feel you'll feel the wind come up. I'll be dead asleep and I can feel if the boat's overpowered, but I mean, it's my boat. Being Swedish and living 40 minutes from Halberg Rossi headquarters, I sort of have to like the Swedish. You're the one that commented that you wanted a Naiad or a Halberg Rossi. That's funny. Yeah, well, I mean, I like those boats too. Naiads are badass, but also oysters are, and swans, and there's a lot. A lot of them are cool. Diego Genovese. Oh man, I just slaughtered your last name, dude. I'm so sorry. Genovese. I bet you that's wrong too. Any boat for tall people, about 6 foot, affordable, 40 feet. Big hug from Argentina. Hola, mi amigo. No puedo hablar en español, pero la próxima vez posible. I think my favorite boat for tall people that's around 40 feet is the Valiant 42. I think it's got 6'4" or 6'5" of headroom throughout the entire boat. You can piss in the pisser and not have to stoop over. That is saying something, man. I can't even stand up all the way in my boat in the Oyster 48. In the bedroom, it's not got enough headroom. Is that a big deal? No, because I'm not ever back there hanging out. I'm back there sleeping. So yeah, the Valiant 42. It's got 6'3" of headroom, 6'4" of headroom all through the whole boat, and it's a badass boat. They're made really, really nicely. They're in Texas. The island packets as well have a lot of headroom in them. So those are 2 that you can research. There's a lot of boats that have over 6'3" of headroom. But usually if you're super tall, you're going to have to buy a bigger boat. Because a lot of the boats, unless you have a lot of money, because a lot of the boats that are just not designed for big, huge, tall people. Sorry. Or a cat. Cats are good for tall people too. All right. Scaling Skeptic says Naiads are effing sexy boats. You're right. Can you talk about trade-offs of high freeboard and high coamings, windage versus safety and dry cockpits? Okay, so freeboard. My boat has a low freeboard. I'll give you my experience with freeboard. My boat has a low freeboard. It's a wet boat. It's a center cockpit, so I get wet in the cockpit. If I had a big, doghouse hard Dodger, that could solve that, but I don't think they look very good on oysters. So I like the aesthetic of having to be able to fold the Dodger down when the days are nice on anchor, and having wind come through and being able to day sail it with no Dodger and no Bimini. Now, the freeboard is something that it's just a little change. There's a lot of sailing that just a little change, just pull that sheet in 1 inch, and it makes a huge difference, and we gain a knot from it. Same thing with freeboard. Freeboard, it can get out of control too fast. Like if you look at the freeboard between, say, an Oyster 56 and a Hansa 56, it is ridiculous. Like the Hansa, if you're standing on the dock, the damn boat's up to your neck. You have to have a ladder to get up to it. And that's just ridiculous to me. They're dry, but they're all over the place. And I don't like it. And they did it because it's all about the inside of the boat with those people. Like they're selling boats at the boat shows. So they want people to get on the boat and be like, wow, there's 6'8" of headroom in the whole boat. You can reach up and barely touch the ceiling in the whole thing. And that's why, absolutely why, it's been driven by the consumer to have a boat that has a lot of headroom, and therefore making the interior space look humongous as well. Okay, so that's my view on freeboard. It can get out of control quickly. And also, the lower the freeboard that you have, the less you need a bow thruster. Like my boat doesn't have one, and it doesn't need one. I can drive it in backwards through the entire marina and all the way to the slip, and it'll go real nicely. Another reason not to have a full keel. It's nice to be able to back your boat up. And yeah, because I don't have a lot of freeboard, I don't have to worry about when it's real windy, slamming it around like that. But that Beneteau that I just delivered, case in point, we hit another boat coming in backwards. It was probably blowing like 30, and I'm trying to get it into the haul out slip, and nailed another boat, man. And it's just really hard to control it because it's so light and it's got so much freeboard, and it's like super thin keel. There's something that happens too if your keel is too thin, then it doesn't have any lateral stability. Anyway, let's see. San Carlos Baja has great deals on boats, Dano. Yeah, that's what I'm talking about. That's La Paz Boat Brokers. That's San Carlos. Wait a minute. I'm pretty sure there used to be a San Carlos yacht broker, but I think La Paz took them over, and I think they own both of them now. I can't remember what that one was called. San Carlos Yacht Brokers, I think. I used to look for boats all the time there. Andre Mueller says, I have a Contest 50 CS, a Nostra 49, and a Pegasus 50 on my watch list. What are your thoughts? Those are great boats. I love those boats. Those are all, I don't know about the Pegasus, but the Contest and the Oyster are both British boats. So you're probably judging by your name, you're probably in Europe. So those are great boats for the European market. Not so good for the American market for the short list because you won't find a lot of them. But the Contests, in my opinion, are right up there with Oyster. They're built really well, and they integrate all the stringers and into the boat, and the structure of the boat is really nice. All right, there's a Bowman's 57 on my dock. It's sick. Yeah. Highless 44. We already talked about that. Earlier you compared two boats. Oh, I lost it. Earlier, you compared two boats' ballast to displacement. You stated that you prefer 40% or more. I said 35% or more. That can't be analyzed in a vacuum without looking at the weight, where the weight is, i.e. draft. Yeah, it can. It can be analyzed in a vacuum, yes. And it has to be. Because there is no there is no stat that you can access for every single boat that takes that into account. Now, what does take that into account is the CE certifications, but the CE certifications are so low that formula is, I don't really like it. So as of now, there's not really a way to take draft into account, and not only just draft, but is the weight of the ballast in the hull? Is it in the centerboard? Is it in the bottom of the bulb? Because that'll all make big differences. So now you're talking about things that are, it's impossible to measure that. I mean, it's not impossible. We just don't have the way to measure that right now. You can't go and get that data right now. So it has to be in that vacuum. There's no other way to do it. You are turning into the Hulk. Oh, yeah, I know I'm turning green. You know why it's green is because my settings are wrong on the damn thing, and I'm getting some green spillover from the lights. I should show you my setup. It's pretty cool. I've got all these lights I bought for like $10 a piece. I got to get some more professional shit so I don't turn into the green Hulk. Ben Owens says ballast displacement of 32% 14 foot down is way more stable than 50% 4 foot down. I totally agree with you, Ben. But again, this is something that is not measurable. So we have to go by what's easy measure. Put yourself in my position. I'm trying to teach people how to do this. I can't teach them theoretical. You know, like here's an algorithm that you need to use on every boat with, you know, exchanging from metric to SAE, and no, just this is the stat you should be looking at. This is about where it needs to be, and that'll give you a good starting point. I'm not saying that every boat that has 35% or more ballast to displacement is a good boat, because that's not the case either. It's just a generality and a springboard. What I think you should do is make sure that the boat is not built with a grid system. If it's built with a grid system, I would almost call it not a cruising boat, in my opinion. You know, can we talk about Naiad, please? Naiads are great boats. They're Swedish made. I mean, I think they're made like right next to Halberg Rossi, which are also Swedish. And Malo is actually Swedish as well. So all three of those boats are badass. Malo, Halberg Rossi, Naiad, and Naiad is spelled Najad. They're like the more performance version of the Halberg Rossi. Like they carved a niche out for themselves, being a little bit more of the racer cruiser type boats, and that's, you know, the use case for that is there. There's a lot of people that grew up on lasers, and they graduated to J boats, and then now they want to go cruising, but they don't want to go cruising on a J boat, but they don't want to give up. You know, they don't want to take a freaking CT-41 and have a floating turd. They want something that's going to have really good sailing characteristics, but also be safe offshore. What a lot of people do that I've seen is they get those like RM boats or the Pogos, and then they just beat the shit out of themselves. And for them, it's okay because they don't give a shit. They're just hardcore sailors, but they're always alone. Anybody that you see that has a Pogo 35 and sailing around the world, they're single-handing it. Because they can't keep crew on those things. It just beats the shit out of the crew. Nobody wants to be on it. Let's see. Would you buy 70s boats? That's a good question. Now, I don't think that, you know, that question is kind of funny because that's so general that absolutely 100% I would buy a boat built in the 70s. I just recommended a guy go look at a boat that was in a 78, but it was like the best built boat in 78 with an aluminum hull and like a very, very nice system that's been updated, and you know, it's a nice boat. So would I buy a boat from the 70s is kind of a loaded question. Better question would be, can you insure a boat from the 70s? Or are there problems long-term with hull osmosis from boats from the 70s? Because there was an oil embargo in 1974, and that really did affect a lot of the boats in the late 70s that are fiberglass. Because all the manufacturing companies started freaking out because now their resins cost 3 times as much. And they're like, oh shit, what do we do? And these resin manufacturers are like, wait, we have a solution. This one's cheaper, But then turns out when you lay it up and it goes into the caustic environment of the sea, it develops resins and it starts delaminating, and then the boat's kind of ruined. I mean, you can fix it, but that fix is horrible. I don't recommend anybody try that. I would rather remove 2 boats' teak decks than try to do a osmosis blister repair where you're shaving off that shit and like putting new glass on it. And I've seen a few people do that, and they're in the yard. There was this couple, we called them the Sanders. They were Austrian, but we called them the Sanders because they would get up at 6 p.m. when the sun was going down, and they'd stay up until 6 a.m. because it was cold, and we were in the tropics, and they would just sand all night long. Like their bodies must have been half fiberglass. Anyway, that's the thing, and then there's the insurance thing. If you want insurance and you want hull insurance, you can get liability insurance on almost anything, but hull insurance, it's harder to insure a 40-year-old boat. You have to basically fly in a NAM certified surveyor, or whatever the insurance company decides is the best surveyor for that. They have to sign off on everything. You have to fix everything that they come up with. And then it has to be basically a very nice boat, recently refit and in very good condition. And then you have to have a sail plan for that year and stick to it. And then after all that, the insurance company can still say, look, we don't want the liability. We're not going to take it on. And there's only a few insurance companies that will even do it. A lot of them just have a hard stance. No boats over 40 years. So is it possible? Hell yeah. If you have a good insurance guy, I have a good insurance guy. If you guys need insurance, please write me an email. You can go to www.sailingsingrao.com, contact the captain on the top right of the screen, and I'd happily share that with you and give him some work too. I don't get any kickback from that. He's just a good dude. I want to, help out good people. Okay. The only cat I will allow in my life is the fat one that's purring on my lap right now. ES says, do you ever do individual consulting, let's say $50 to $100 an hour, to let a novice bounce ideas they have off you? James from Michigan says hi. Hey, buddy. I charge $200 an hour, and I charge that because I do research for free. So basically, I'm doing research for an hour, and then we're talking for an hour. So basically, that's like $100 an hour. And yeah, anytime, man. I would absolutely love to help you guys out. I've had a lot of people call me about that and book time with me, and I really like doing it. I like making sure people get the right boat. And a lot of the time, it's a good investment. I mean, I wish I had somebody that was like an on-call mentor for me when I was starting out, because I bought the wrong boat. I bought a Morgan Out Island 41, and that was a bad boat as a cruising boat. And it was just this particular one was even worse because the condition was bad, and it's a nightmare. It's a whole nother story. But I bought the wrong boat, put 50 grand into it, lost it, and then had to wait years to get that 50 grand back. So I would prefer you spend $200 or $400 on me rather than 50 grand on the wrong boat. ES says, like Zoom chat. Yeah, I use Zoom. That's what I use. I have a professional Zoom account. How important are door ads on a boat? I'm not a big fan of door ads, to tell you the truth. I think they're great on anchor, but I like to cap them off when I go out to sea. Because when I go out to sea, I'm going out to sea, man. I'm bashing. I'm doing like 1,000-mile trips. So door ads are useless because they just leak. And there has to be a way to cap them off. So make sure there's a way to cap them off. Judd says, gotta run. Thanks for sharing your knowledge and expertise, James, and this information. Oh, thanks, buddy. Appreciate that. Much love. Glenn Russell, how about the pilot house for tall people? I think that you should get a boat that's made up, if you can afford it, get a boat that's got headroom throughout. You want to be able, look, this is the most important thing. So you want to be able to cook. You want to be able to sail, like when you're standing at the helm. You need to be able to stand up and not get hit in the head by the boom. And you need to be able to have sex. I'm serious. This is a big, freaking important detail that in your bed, whichever one you choose as the owner, you got to be able to have sex. It's a freaking hard pass for me if it's a real small bed. I had one on my camera and I hated it. All right. Cameron, has he spoken about Island Packet yet? Yeah, he did a couple of times. I like Island Packets. Another Island Packet lover. The people that love Island Packets love Island Packets. I am not in that camp, to tell you the truth. I like having a fin keel. But it has to have a keel stub. It has to be put on really, really well. Or like the ultimate would be something like the way Kraken does it, where they encapsulate it. It has no keel bolts, and it's still a fin keel. So you have the best of both worlds. You don't have to worry about it if it grounds. What I won't do is have anything with a grid, any type of boat with a grid. Let's see. Sam M. Ontario 32s are nice small boats. Yeah, John Kretschmer took a Contessa 32 around Cape Horn. You can read about it in his book. I think it's called The Cape Horn to Starboard. Yeah. SV Serenity says, Sail Serenity says, too thin of a keel, won't hove to. That's another whole big deal when you're looking at boats, is you need to get something that can heave to well. All right, what about kit boats that you build yourself? That's a whole nother thing, brother. There are some really good kit boats. Like I said, the Bowmans, they used to sell the hulls, and they'd sell you a bare hull, great hull, already done. You could get it in aluminum or steel, and then you fit it out yourself. Building a boat is tough. It's a lot more work than you think it is. Everybody, even professional sailors, you go talk to Plucky, and then go talk to Brian from Delos, and then go talk to Matt from MJ Sailing. And that Matt told me when he was looking for plans, because he was, I had my cat at that time too, and he was like, "Hey James, what do you think about this plan or this plan?" And I was, talking to him about it. He found this one. He's like, "Yeah, this will take me about 2.5 years. I'm gonna go with this." That was like at least 4 years ago, probably 5 years ago. He didn't know how much work it would be, and you telling me that you want to buy a kit boat is, that could be a 10-year journey, bro. There's a lot of boats for sale in the world. Somebody once told me, some nail them, some sail them, and truer words have never been said, and that is no judgment. Some just love working on boats. I would venture to say that the building channels that you see, like Mads on Sail Life and Matt and Jessica, and they will always be that, because those people like building things. They love the work satisfaction that comes with a day's hard work, and they look what I accomplished kind of thing. Whereas it's not so tangible with the people that are sailing. It's like, well, look what I did. I got the same boat, now it's leaking, and I'm in a different spot. But for those that like to sail, I would say you need to classify what kind of sailor you are, and really think about it. And if you're the type that wants to explore and wants to sail, get rid of that idea of building a boat. It's stupid. It's so much work. And that said, I kind of want to build a boat, and I'd love to do that once in my life. So you can go back and forth, but I guarantee I'm going to be in hell for a few years, wishing that I had a boat to, that I had just bought a boat. And yeah, that's my honest opinion on it. Agree, lots of dock condos out there. Bluewater's different. Hi James, saludos from Barcelona, España. What's up, brah? Un abrazo. Abrazo for you too, bro. Opinions on the Catalina 400. I love Catalinas. I think they're great. They're not really offshore boats. They're grid boats. Well, actually, I shouldn't say that. Some of them aren't. And a lot of them are deck stepped with a compression post, which I don't really love deck step masts. I've seen a few of them dismasted. I rescued 3 people off of a deck step dismasted Bavaria 2 years ago. And I'm not a big fan of deck step masts for doing offshore work. You got to see where it's coming from. I'm an offshore sailor. It's for doing offshore work, 1,000 miles, 2,000 mile kind of thing. Now, Catalinas, I have a special place in my heart. I owned a Catalina 27, and I lived on it with my Rottweiler, and I loved that boat. It sailed so well. It was one of those boats where you could just take the cushions out and take a hose and just garden hose the damn thing, and that's great. Hardly any maintenance. I hardly did anything to that boat. It had a Hank-on jib. I used to sail that boat in and out of my slip. It was great. Great sailing boats. Lots of room inside, but just not really blue water boats. Now, that said, I met a girl that took a Catalina 30 from Seattle to Ecuador via Galapagos. And that Catalina 30 was trashed afterwards. She ripped out all the cleats, and she's lucky she didn't rip the mast down, but all of the interior bulkheads came unglued and untabbed, because they don't fully tab their bulkheads. They're just like pieces. And she ended up having to re-glass everything and like rebuild them and put new bigger cleats on it and stuff. And she made it. She didn't, you know, it was crazy. I met her in a river. She came over to my boat and asked if she could have help pulling her shaft and replacing her cutlass bearing in a river that was six knots for 4 hours with a 1 hour slack tide, and then 6 knots the other way for the other 4 hours. And she did it. Badass. Her boyfriend was in the cockpit with a kiteboarding pump duct taped to a snorkel, and he was pumping her air, and she was down there with all her tools tied to her, like to her waist. It was so freaking crazy, man. She was a badass. If you know that girl, or if you are that girl, please get in touch with me. I'd love to talk to you again. Anyway, yeah, Catalina's nice boats. They're more coastal cruisers, but they're nice. Bristol 45.5. Yeah, those are cool. Ontario, oh, we're back there. I've seen Hilux 44s of the late 80s and 90s vintage on Yachtworld that look in great shape between 90 and 140K. Flake, I went through a Hilux 44. Just this was actually, I think this is the Hilux 44 right there. So that if you watch this, you can see that they have a lot of those have chain plates that are embedded in the fiberglass. So you got to watch for that. But a lot of the old Island packets did too, and that's completely fixable. So you can do that job yourself too, man. What I recommend is you pay a professional to do at least one and then show you how to do it. But basically you just take away everything that's delaminated and then put it back. 200 sounds great, makes sense. Giving them your list of questions for sailing dreams. You'll have to let me know when you do boats under 1K or to free. Yeah. No, I don't think I'll do that. There's not enough people that are watching my channel that don't even have, you know, I just don't think it's there. But if you would like, I would absolutely help you out. Scott Krebs says 6'7" here, a bit over 2 meters. In my experience in this price range, headroom is a non-starter. If you don't fit up right, the best that you can do is be able to stretch out on long quarter berth in the saloon. Yeah. If you're 6'7", you are gonna have a big problem. You know what you can get is a catamaran. A lot of catamarans have a lot of headroom. You're gonna have to get a big boat. Another thing you can do is get a bigger boat. I don't know what to tell you, Scott. 6'7" is like that height that no boat is made for. All of the boats that are under 50 feet that are monohulls, 6'4" is about as much headroom as you're going to get. Maybe the new Oysters have 6'7" in the salon, but it'll be hard. What about a Rustler 37? I love Rustlers. Those are badass boats. Yes, absolutely. I haven't gotten into Rustlers yet with this channel, with this new series, because they're super expensive, but they're very, very nice. You made me crack up about bed importance. Yeah, well, that's true. I'm just trying to be real with you guys. Yeah, if you want to have to go up to the V-berth to make sweet love, the seas better be rolling. Let's see. How about a retractable keel? Oh, that's a good question. I am not a huge fan of retractable keels on fiberglass boats. On aluminum boats, absolutely. They're great. On fiberglass boats, they end up wearing and then knocking. And I've seen multiple boats that either knock, the owners glassed it over because they just got sick of it, or the damn thing just fell off. I've seen them break off. So anything articulating under the water, I'm not a huge fan of. You know, you can put on like cassette-driven kick-up rudders on catamarans, and that's cool if you want to beach the boat or something like that. But articulating centerboards is a hard one for me. Now on metal boats, they're a lot more robust. The parts are made of steel or aluminum, so when they do articulate, they don't really wear the same, and they seem to be okay, and they tuck up into the boat a lot better. My opinion, I probably would try to stay away from some centerboard boats. Now, if you can get the centerboard up into the boat and it's nice and secure, and you really test it well that it's not going to bang around, then go ahead, do it. I can understand the draw, absolutely. I'm not stupid. I mean, having a boat that draws 3 feet would be freaking nice, and then still sails well with the centerboard down. You know, 3 feet to 12 feet would be amazing. But you know, that's the thing you're gonna have to look out for. Let's see. Ted Hood did centerboards the best. Yeah, but I've seen a couple Ted Hood boats that had problems. No, namely, there was a Hood 44 that was part of the Vauquier brand, and that boat they have problems. And also, I've seen Ryan on Sail Libra's boat. He's got two centerboards, which is crazy. 65-foot boat with two centerboards. Centerboard broke completely off. I also had a girlfriend with a what was it called? Shit, what was that boat? I can't remember, but it had a centerboard as well, and that motherfucker, dude, this is the problem. When you're at anchor, the thing is like gagoon, 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 and it's ridiculous. It might as well just sink the fucking boat. I can't sleep on it. Same thing if like there's cables in the mast. You know, a lot of masts have a PVC tube, and all the cables run through the PVC tube. If that PVC tube comes off and starts banging around in there, there's no way to fix it unless you take the mast off and redo the whole thing, right? Oh my god, dude, I cannot stand. I've seen somebody fill their mast with fucking sand, which is a horrible fix. Don't do that, just to get rid of that sound. But anyway, there's some things that are like a hard no pass for me. Not a big enough bed, that banging damn mast, and the banging centerboard. It's hard pass, man. I never want that. Thoughts on the Nordic 45 RS? Those are badass. I like Nordic boats. Those are really nice boats. I don't know enough about them to give you the real big detailed skinny on them, but I know that Nordics are good, and they're on my list. Which if you're still watching and you're sick of listening to me rant, this is pretty much over. I'm just going to sit here and answer questions for a little while. So if you'd like the information that I came up with, that I put some time into, there's a worksheet, there's a Yachtworld link, and it's got all of the boats that I really like, and you can just change the price and change the location to find the Bluewater style boats that would fit your budget. And there's also links to all of the sites that I went over: Sailboat Listings, Yachtworld, Yachter, the Facebook groups, and Cruisers Forum ads. There's a couple other places too that sell boats. Forums are a good place to look for boats. Sail Anarchy. And then there's a link for my website if you want to have a consultation from me. Okay? Appreciate you guys' time. I think I've been on here for an hour. Has it been an hour yet? Has it been an hour and a half already? Let's see. Oh no, 48 minutes. Okay, cool. Good. I can't tell time right. Okay. All right, let me go back to your questions. Let me make sure I've gotten through all my stuff first. We've evaluated a listing. We're on to the Q&A, and then the closing. Cool. So pretty much gone through everything. The one thing I didn't do is go through very many actual boats. So I could do that again if you guys would like, or I could just keep doing Q&A. Let me know in the comments what you would like better. But I'm going to keep answering questions before that. So Michael Wilcox, what's up, dude? He says, informative chat. Thanks for sharing. Thanks, man. Much love. Martin says, builders from areas with loads of tide would be preferred. France, UK, Netherlands, for example. Catalpa has a centerboard that is still stuck after a lengthy refit. Yeah. I mean, I've seen many people glass those over just because they can be pains in the ass, and they get stuck too. Growth happens and way up in there. It's just, man, it's a hard one. Hard one for me. Flake says, thanks. We'll check out your piece on the Hylas 44. I was also wondering if you've discussed Brewer or Whidbey 42 and the Brewer 44. There are a couple of interesting examples on Yachtworld currently. Yes, I discussed Brewer. Brewer it was a company that sold boats. I think they fitted them out too, but a lot of them they sold were just hulls, and then they were owner fit out. So you could hire a yard. You could buy the hull from Brewer and then hire a yard to fit your boat out. So a lot of them are professionally fit out, but they don't, yeah, some of them, the build quality can be different. That said, one of the nicest boats I've ever seen was a Brewer 62, like in my life. Uh, it was beautiful. All right. Thoughts on McGregor sailboats? Just kidding. Yeah, McGregors are shit. Don't buy a McGregor. Not for that. I shouldn't say they're shit. I should say that they are for that use purpose. They're not offshore boats. I really shouldn't say any boat is a shit boat. It's just that, in my view of offshore sailing, I'm not made for that at all. Okay? Wouldn't want to intentionally beach a fiberglass boat, to be honest. Yeah, some people do it. I've seen people do it. Not a big deal. Opinion about Allure. I love Allure. Those are badass boats. When I first started cruising, the first country I went to was Cuba. I spent 2 months in Cuba. And there was a guy cruising around. He was an ex plastic surgeon, and he had just bought a brand new Allure. I think it was a 39. And that boat was so cool. And they had just come out. Allure, if you don't know, guys, they're the monohull version of Outremer. So they're built in the Grandmont yard. Same guys that build Outremer. They build this aluminum boat with a fiberglass top. They call it an Allure. And those are awesome boats. Really, really nice boats. They really thought about like user interface with that boat. So like, for instance, in the cockpit, where the cockpit meets the coach roof, it's curved, so you can literally like lay back and relax and put a cushion there, and it's just a nice laying back spot. It's like the perfect angle. You know what I mean? They really thought about it. They're nice boats and super strong. I like alloy boats. Octave says, "Hi James, what hull checks should I make except for thickness on an aluminum boat built in 1977?" Okay, wow, more aluminum questions. So, yes, aluminum has a lifespan. It doesn't necessarily like oxidize and flake away and get thinner like metal will do, but it does have problems with a stray current, and you really have to be careful about going into marinas with an aluminum boat. You got to put the right paint on them. I mean, you probably all know this. You can't drop pennies in the bilge and stuff because the copper is less noble, and it'll react with aluminum, and it'll eat the aluminum away, or the aluminum's less noble. And the problem with aluminum boats that are older, like in the Navy, for instance, in the U.S. Navy, they retire boats at 40 years. So any aluminum boat, they say 40-year lifespan, doesn't matter how thick it is, it's getting replaced, because they have like a work hardening thing that happens when they flex, and they don't want there to be any liability there. That said, they'd probably last a lot longer than that, and they could last a lot shorter than that. So what you need to do is get somebody that can sound the boat, and they take a sounding machine and they put it, it's like a grid pattern. Imagine they draw a bunch of lines and they make a grid, and they take 100 soundings every 4 inches, boom, 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 in like a diamond pattern. And then they give it to you, and that's what it looks like. It's just a bunch of boxes, and there's your boat laid out flat like a Mercator chart, and in every box is a number, and that's the thickness of the hull plating in that number. And that is very costly. So make sure you want that boat. If not, there's other ways you can do it. I mean, so a lot of surveyors can listen and hear if it's thick or not. That's a hard one, man. I'd say get a professional. I wouldn't buy a 40-year-old or 45-year-old. What's that? A 48-year-old? 8 that was aluminum, and without somebody really looking into, is this thing gonna fall apart? Because I've seen it happen. You've probably seen it too. Remember Nike from White Spot Pirates? Her boat was all kinds of messed up. It had holes in it. There was another YouTube channel that had holes too, and I've seen it off YouTube as well. Somebody buys a boat, and then it's just Swiss cheese, and they have to weld in a whole new bottom plate, and it's a huge job. So one cool thing about aluminum is everything is welded. So no keel bolts, no bolts holding all the chain plates through, or bolts going through the cleats or anything like that. Everything's welded to the deck. So even on a lure that has a fiberglass topper, like the deck is aluminum, and then the fiberglass is just the doghouse and the coach roof. Okay, let's see. Do you like catch rigs? Chad Needham says, yes, I love catch rigs. I think catch is an awesome rig. There's a lot, catch has a lot going for it because it is an older rig, right? And the technology exists now where you can point higher and you can make better use of the wind with the technology that exists. If you have one mast a little bit farther aft and a bigger sail, with that dynamic of having a sloop, you can now use the wind and go up a little bit more and really pinch. Catches can't. But for offshore, you're not really sailing at 100% maximum capacity all the time. You're kind of sailing at about 90 or 80%, or maybe 60% at night. So you want, the cool thing about a catch is there's all these different sail configurations. So one good thing to have with the boat, if it's on your list, is to have a cutter or a Solent stay, another stay where you can have a smaller sail. Well, on a catch, there's like 10 sails. So you can have the foresail in the mizzen, the cutter in the mizzen, the reefed mizzen and the cutter, just the main, no main. You can have the mizzen up just as like an on anchor steadying sail, so you don't fly around on anchor so much. I mean, there's a lot you can do with catch. And that actually goes for a yawl too. I mean, yawls are pretty cool. The steadying sail works a lot better on the yawl. And then there's these offshore sails that they call them schooners, but they're two masts at the same height. So instead of being a catch, it's called a schooner. And they have two mainsails basically, and then the jib, and usually they're cutters. And that's actually a really good system too, because you can really balance it well, because you got to think about where the thing is pushing. So say, I'll tell you from my experience. I was offshore in my catamaran, and we didn't have a cutter stay, so we didn't have a fourth reef in the main. We got hit by like 60 knots, maybe 50 knots sustained, 60 knots gusts, and we just didn't. It was too much wind for that third reef in the main, so I had to put the main down. Now it's here where you would want like a trysail. Trysail is something you put in the stead of the main, and it's just a little tiny triangle of sail like a storm jib, but for your main. We didn't have that, so what I had to do was take the main down and then use just a very small, like, postage stamp. When I say postage stamp, it was probably like less than a square meter of sail. But this is the problem. It's pushing on the front of the boat. So now the dynamic is all the wind is pushing here on the front. Let me go this way. This is the boat, right? Wind is coming from here. It's pushing on the front of the boat, and it's wanting to turn the boat. And the only thing that's counteracting that is the rudders on the back of the boat. So now the teeny little rudder on the catamaran is now pushing against all that force on the front of the boat, and that's just not the right way. I mean, it chews through the gears on the autopilot, uses a ton of electricity. It's not balanced correctly. It's trying to tear the boat in half. So better you put a cutter rig up, you put a staysail up, and then you put a very small main up, and now you've got all of that force closer to the mast and closer to the center of effort, and the autopilot doesn't have to work as hard. That's the whole point of sailing, is to balance the sails well. So, case in point, to get back on track, catches can balance easier. Okay? Mike Miko says, what's your opinion on contest wing keels? I don't know much about those. I think they look funny. And contest isn't the only one that has this wing keel. He's talking about, in contest, they have this keel that goes down, and then it's got these two wings, and it's not just wings that are flat. They like cant up, and it's supposed to lift it a little bit. Island Packet did that. Mel did that. It must work because a bunch of people did it. I don't really know. Like, it's the same question as, what do you think about asymmetrical dagger boards or curved dagger boards? They must work because it's a hell of a lot of engineering and a hell of a lot of work and a hell of a lot of money to put into that feature. because now you have to make a curved daggerboard case too, if it didn't do anything. So I don't know. There, a lot of the ways that boats are built now, they don't do any real world testing. Like for instance, like I mentioned CE rating before, CE category A rating, they're not doing testing on the boats for that rating. They're doing testing on little models. So they make a model of the boat, CNC model, whatever, exactly the same thing as you're going to get, and then they put that into a tank, into a air funnel, and into their a capsize thing. And I don't know what they're doing. Maybe they have the guy with his finger at the top of the mast, like, well, it slips back over. Probably not. But like my whole point is that's all computer modeling and like modeling. So whether or not it really works, I don't know if there's any way to tell. And I don't know enough about it, so sorry. ES, to schedule a consultation sessions, what's the best way to contact you first? Use my email. You can. I don't like to give my email out on video on YouTube, because every time I give it out, I end up getting a shitload of spam, and I don't know how like an AI bot gets it, but they listen to me and they get it from my voice. So better go to my website, www.sailingzingaro.com, and then there's contact the captain on the top right of the screen up here. Very, very easy. That goes right to my email, and then I'll start a diatribe with you, okay? Yeah, that's the way. Graham says, watch White Spot Pirates early videos for issues with aluminum boats. JR says, aluminum boats can pit if not taken care of, and some solvents can react with aluminum. Yes, but I honestly think aluminum is probably the best thing that we have today as far as a boat building, just because it oxidizes, it's easy to take care of. If you don't paint it, then it's so maintenance free, and everything's welded, so you don't have the water ingress problems with fiberglass. There's a reason that all these YouTubers with a lot of experience are going to aluminum boats. It's just easier to take care of. You don't spend as much time on maintenance. Octave says, thanks, Captain. Albert says, the other channel with the old aluminum boat is called Vet Tales. Yes, Sailing Chuffed. Exactly. That's right. The placement and angle of the wings are extremely important. Yes, Graham is a trimariner. He's got a trimaran. He's a very good sailor, and he would know. So I would listen to Graham. All right. Any other questions? Oh, look at boats, more boats. Let's see more boats. Okay, cool. Let's go back and let's see some boats, huh? This time I'm going to leave the same price value, 110 to 175, but I'm going to get rid of. Oh, there's a lot of boats in here. I'm going to get rid of Netherlands, and now we're going to search in the United States, because most of you guys are probably Americans, right? So we're going to do by country. Come on, baby. Actually, you know what? This thing's being super slow, so we're just going to go through the 305 boats that come up in the entire world, and we're going to see. I want to show you guys some stuff. Alubat Ovni, 395 for 150,000. I love Alubats. I think they're cool boats. They're one of those boats that everybody just loves that has them, and it's one of the boats that you can get into for less than 200,000 that has a swim platform, is not deep draft because they have a centerboard, sails well, and they're aluminum. So if you want to dive into that world, Alubat, they're old enough now, they've been around long enough where they're getting cheaper. Another really good, probably the best, arguably the best aluminum monohull manufacturer is Garcia. They make exploration boats, and they're weird looking boats, but they're laid out really well. At least the early ones they're strange looking, but they're dynamite, bulletproof, cool boats, and they hold their value well. So Alubat Ovni, they just got into the catamaran market a couple years ago too. They started putting out the Ovni Cat, so you can look at that too. But if you're in this kind of price range, then Alubat Ovnis are cool. This is the boat that Jimmy Cornell had. And he had a 43, I think it was a 43, and he sailed it like 80,000 miles. He went to Antarctica twice on it. He sailed one way around the Americas and then the other way, and that was on this boat. And now he's got some kind of like crazy exploration boat. But these are nice boats. They're laid out well. I have a buddy with this same one. Might be this boat actually. Chris, are you selling your boat? This one's a cutter, I think. Is that what I'm looking at? Yeah, that's the cutter stay. So, very cool. Nice boat. And the cool thing, again, is these are all aluminum. This is all aluminum. Everything's welded. The only deck penetrations are for the hatch fills and for the hatches. So you got to rebed the hatches. These are Lumar hatches. They could probably be upgraded. But you're not going to get something with Goit hatches on an aluminum boat for $145,000. Cool. I'm not going to go through that boat, though. Passport 47, cool boat. Hey, there's a Nordic 40. Somebody asked me about a Nordic 40. Let's go through the Nordic and let's just see. I don't know much about the Nordic, so I'm going to treat this boat like I don't know anything about it, okay? Nordic 40. It's in my price range. Is it an offshore boat? Well, let's go into sailboat data. Nordic 40. I already know it is. Nordic 40 sailboat data right here. Look at that. There's the bottom profile. I like the keel. I like the forefoot. It's got a lot of boat underwater. It doesn't look like it's too flat against the water. If the bottom profile is parallel to the water, you're going to have a problem with pounding. I like the clipper bow. I don't know if this is a skeg or what, but maybe. And let's see, the layout looks funny. A little bed back here and a V-berth. I'm not a big fan of that, but maybe. Let's see. It's a 18,000 pound boat with 7,000 pounds of ballast. That gives it a ballast displacement of almost 40. That's perfect. Sail area displacement's right where I like it, between like 15 and 20. The displacement to length makes it a light cruiser. So I like a little bit heavier boat, but that's okay. This is going to be a more like performance oriented boat. And the comfort ratio is not very good. 27.98 is not a great comfort ratio, but not a bad boat. It's cheap. It'll probably sail well. Where were we here? There we go. Now let's look at it. Wile E. Coyote. I love the name. A lot of people, they name their boats stupid stuff. Like anything related to money, it's just dumb to me. Wile E. Coyote is a badass name. I like that a lot. Wow, it's pretty. Somebody's taking care of it. Looks like it's been painted recently. Oh man, this is a nice boat. I like the interior. It's pretty. It's old. You can tell it's an old design. It's from '84. Back in the '80s, they had all single berths. I think it's a man's game back then. You know, they didn't have a lot of double berths. So, and sometimes that's better. If you want to do some really hardcore offshore sailing, that's what you need. You want something that's a single berth right here with a lee cloth, and that's the most comfortable berth. You got two of them. Now that's two places to sleep. The back cabin's actually not the best because now you got this big open space. You're rolling back and forth. These are where it's at, and then the V berth is kind of off limits for everybody. It looks like they forgot to tape the tape off after they refinished this stuff. So, you know, that could be a tell that like the window above here was leaking. It looks like this is different colors. If you look in here real closely, it's different colors. So either this was leaking and got all over this, or there's a window above this galley that was leaking, and not a big deal. Honestly, it wouldn't be hard to just rip this entire thing out and build it again. But is that something you want to do? I really like these lamps. I mean, I don't like using superfluous bullshit to decide if I want to buy a boat, but I really like these lamps, man. Anybody that has an old like kerosene lamp, that's just good job. I think this is Native American, this bird right here. There's a mast cover, so it looks like a keel step mast. That's a good thing. Here's a chain plate. It's on the outside of the bulkhead, which I love. There's no water damage here that I see, maybe just a little bit, and that is awesome. So it wouldn't be a deal killer if there was. It would just mean that you'd have to rebed the chain plates. So that's nice that you can see them. When they start leaking, you'll know. You'll know because whoever's sleeping here will be like, man, my bed's all wet. I can't tell where it's coming from. Oh, yeah, that's the chain plates. Oh, there's Wile E. Coyote. Look at that. That'd be funny if he had him all over the place, huh? Okay, this needs to be refinished. Not a big deal. I mean, keeping this part, the companionway, in like Bristol condition is retarded. There's not a lot of wood on the outside of the boat, just these handrails, which makes it so the maintenance is low, which I like. This is a clutch down here. I don't know what that is. That's weird. I'm not sure about that stopper there with the winch here on the deck. So there's a couple ways to do the setup on the mast. You can do mast-based winches or winches on the deck. They're kind of the same thing. I mean, you have to go up here and strap in to be able to work with them. Is this a boat you'd want to take around Cape Horn? No, because this is not the most ideal setup for dealing with halyards and stuff. You want to have like granny bars here and kind of a cage at the mast if you're going to have to go to the mast and reef and do things. You don't want to be standing on the outside of the boat trying to winch on the winches on the deck. So it looks to me like an offshore boat. Oh, they have covers for everything. That's nice. That's why it's still nice. It looks like the hatches are very crazed. You see that? And they need new plexiglass. Usually by this time, if they need new plexiglass, they need new seals, which means by the time you buy plexiglass and seals, you're into the thing for 80% of a new hatch. So you might as well just buy new hatches, get it over with, bite the bullet, and bed them in really nicely, and call it a day. Looks like this is hard here. I can't tell, but it looks like this is a hard shell with a soft Bimini Dodger under it. Yeah, looks fine. The Traveler's in front, so it's out of your way. Everything's led to the cockpit. I like the way that's set up. These sheaves are super, super light, though. I'm seeing light stuff on this boat. This is not built for being way offshore. This is, yeah, I would be afraid. This is definitely going to break. I'm going to break that off right there for sure. Oh, and it looks like it's just by hand, too. You can put it in a winch, but this isn't a sheave that can go to the winch. It's not articulatable, so that's a problem. I would need to change that. So far as what I see, I see this clutch is old. They don't make these style of clutches anymore. The track for the jib goes back far enough. That's cool. Yeah, it looks like it's a little low. You probably, if you were 6'7", you wouldn't be able to stand up in here. These winches are really short. I wonder what kind of winches they are. I wonder if they're just tiny or they're Lumar 43s on the house. That's not too small for the house winches. This is a nice cover. I like covers. I'm a big fan of these covers actually because they get out of the freaking way. Stack packs are always a bitch to use. And this one has provisions for jack lines, so that's nice. That's a nice cover. I'd leave that. I wouldn't put a stack pack on that. Oh, he's got a little cover for the boom bang. He's got, this is not a permanent block. This is a snatch block. Yeah, I don't really like these sheaves. They're not strong. In my opinion, they're definitely not high load. So I think one upgrade I would have to do is change out all the sheaves, get some good sheaves and blocks, make sure everything's rated for what you're going to experience offshore. Everything else looks good. Wow, the engine room's clean. That's nice. Make sure this wrap is something that is rated for boats. I don't know if it is or not, but that's odd that they have a wrap there. I understand why they do. It's just make sure it's boat rated. Looks like they keep clean. They have a piece of, I thought this is what I do in my engine room too. I put a oil blanket down. It's a Yanmar. Everybody loves Yanmars. It's got AGM batteries. It looks like. Oh no, these are Trojans. These are fill them up with water batteries. Not a big deal. They don't last very long. When you're going offshore, these batteries last for about 2 years, guys. To be honest with you, you can refill them all you want. The problem is trying to keep them above 50% because you can't. Batteries have an elasticity, and every time you take these things below 50%, that elasticity shrinks a little bit, and then pretty soon it'll look like you're charged up to 12.7, but as soon as you put a load on it, that thing drops to nothing, and you can't use them anymore, and then you got to change them out. That's why people go to lithium, because lithium you can take down to 10%, not a big deal. AGM you can work a little harder. These lead acid ones you got to really watch, not take them down below 50, which is freaking impossible. I mean, if you're sailing at night, you know, in a storm and you're using a lot of juice from your autopilot, it'll go down below 50%. You'll be too damn tired to freaking go up and start your generator. Charge master. So I'd prefer having, what's it called? I'd prefer having Victron stuff, but this is fine. That's cheap. This is the fridge. Looks okay. Wow, they got a lot of pictures. I don't like this corrugated style hose on this. I think you should use some real hose. I'd get rid of that if I went offshore. That's bullshit hose. You need to put some real hose on it. Is that an ICOM? That's a Pactor modem with a SSB. In my opinion, that's outdated. That's not a selling point. That's something you throw away when you get to the boat. That's a source of contention from a lot of people, though. A lot of people love ham. I mean, if you're a ham guy, great, cool, but don't count on there being like a lot of use for SSB anymore. Really, it's kind of being phased out. Oh, there's a heater on the boat. That's cool. It's a Dickinson, right? No, that's not a Dickinson. I can't tell. Those are cool. Those this is fed by diesel, so it's a diesel heater. That's nice. Well, actually, the aft cabin looks nice. So yeah, man, I'd say just judging by the hoses and the layout and the way that this is set up with the sheaves and the traveler and the light blocks, that, in my opinion, this is a coastal racial cruiser that probably has the bones to become an offshore cruiser if you want to put in some money and, you know, put in some hardware. And yeah, looks nice. I don't know if it's got an encapsulated keel or a fin keel or what, but oh, it's a Perry design. It looks like a Perry boat. He loves these kind of bows. Yeah, well, it should sail like a Banshee. Perry's boats always sail well. Or not always, but usually they sail pretty well. All right, let's see. I'm gonna go back down. First place to look is the engine room. Yeah, I mean, a lot of people like doing that. Rick Tukowski. A keel 4-foot described as a spoon or a S-curve is more comfortable sailing towards weather. I'm looking for a Van de Staat Seal 36 with a steel hull. Any insights would be appreciated. Well, I can just tell you that the 4-foot is the part underwater in the front of the boat, right? That's what will hit the waves first. If you look at the bottom profile of, let's just do it real quick. I'll show you. Beneteau Oceanus 45. We're going to do image, and we're going to do drawing. Here we go. If you guys can see this, this thing is flat. It's almost parallel for most of the way under the boat. This gray area is what you're looking at, and from the water line to the keel, that is so flat that this boat is going to pound like a mofo. And it's got a plumb bow, so that doesn't help things anyway. I've explained why they have plumb bows. It's because they're making the aft part of the boat so wide that they have to have more buoyancy in the front. So that's where the plumb bow comes from. And then they stretch out that 4-foot, and then they don't have the deep chest necessary to handle waves. Okay? Now, you can hear my daughter in the background. She's been a little bit sick the last few days. Sorry, guys. I love being a dad. She's such a cute girl. Oh shit, you can't see my stuff. Damn it. I did it again. I'm sorry. Here we go. So this is a drawing of the Beneteau Oceanus 45. I'm going to reinstate what I just said because this is very important. When you're looking at a boat, all I have to do is just look at the drawing. Like when I see this boat, I can tell this boat is going to pound. And I don't care who says what. Boat is going to pound. It's going to sail like shit. It'll go upwind. It'll probably point to 35 degrees because it's got that real wide aft, and it's shaped like a race boat, and it's got a chined hull and probably a really tall mast. These things sail well. Now, what they don't do is any upwind work. And then when you're trying to go upwind, which I'm telling you, if you're cruising, you're sailing upwind at least 60% of the time. You're just going to pound away the entire grid, and the boat's going to fall apart, and the bulkheads are going to get messed up, and the cabinets are going to fly across the room. And I've seen it all. This exact thing happen on boats. I just delivered a Beneteau 47.7 that's now being scrapped. So it's a complete write-off because it separated the grid. This thing is not a Bluewater boat. Now, if you go to, I'm just going to use my boat because I know it's here. Let's see, drawing. Now the Oyster, you see how much boat is underwater? See how much more boat is underwater and how deep that forefoot is in the front? That forefoot now is all that space and all that weight and all that girth is taking the impact, and it's punching through the waves. And that's why my boat will be a lot more comfortable than an Oyster at the same size, or a Beneteau the same size. Okay, you get it? That's the difference between the forefoots. You got to look at your Vantage Stat. I'm pretty sure that Vantage Stats have a pretty good forefoot. They have a good, like that guy's a prolific designer, and there's a lot of them. I've seen them sailing around the world. A lot of them are made in metal, and steel comes with its own complications and its own benefits. So you got to look into that. But the specific, I would need the specific boat you're talking about to compare it. But that's how to compare forefoots. Sorry, I know you couldn't see my screen there for a minute. Mark Lawrence Kiefer says, sorry, I'm late. What did I miss? The whole thing. We're done. Habitación de terror. Exactly. That's what happens, when you have a boat like that Beneteau that I just showed you. That becomes the room of terror. Let's see, right here. The front of the boat is no longer usable at all. And for chartering or for day sailing or for there's a use case for the Oceanus or the first series of Beneteau boats. I'm not saying they're horrible boats. They're just bad for offshore. I would never buy one to go offshore. I know a lot of people that are sailing around the world on a Beneteau. That's what everybody tells me. Oh, there's so many people sailing around the world on a Beneteau. Yeah, until they're not. And most of them are sick of it and trying to find another boat because it's just uncomfortable. And the boat falls apart because it's not built. They're built for it's cost production. It's quality production anymore. It hasn't been since like the early 80s. Okay, I'm looking at a HC33 in Quebec on Yachtworld. I think the price needs to come down a bit. Can you comment? I love HC33s. I almost bought the first HC34, hull number 1. It had deck issues, and at the time I didn't know how to fix it, and I thought it was in over my head. But I love that boat. HC33 for sale. Hans Christian. Let's see. I'm going to guess you're looking at, here we go, this one. Let's look at that one real quick. I'm going to go through it. Perle Noire. It's the black pearl. I think black boats is fucking dumb. Pardon my French, but I feel very strongly about this. That only 2 people paint their boat black, idiots and pirates. And you're neither one of them. So don't paint your boat black. I'm sorry, but dude, maybe in Quebec. I can understand in Quebec. Okay, I shouldn't say he's an idiot. Sorry, sir. But having a black boat is just so crazy. It makes the boat so much hotter. You're getting the entire spectrum of the sun and just absorbing it. So I guarantee you, if you had this HC33 and the other one for sale right next to each other, you put your head in the cabinets, it's 20 degrees hotter in there, Fahrenheit. All right? So be careful with the black boat. But let's check the boat out and see if it's good. Now what you need to do is you need to right click on this, save image as, save it in your downloads folder. That way you can blow it up and look really closely to all these things. I love Hans Christians. I think they have so much character. They're so pretty. They're slow. They're a full keel, so they're kind of turds when they're, in the marina, and backing up is hard on them, and if not impossible. But like, look at these big bronze structures for tying off the boat, and they're just made for, being around and going around. I'm not a huge fan of the aesthetic of having a double ender boat. All of the Hans Christians are double enders, as far as I know. I think they might have made a couple that weren't, but I like having a swim platform. But man, these boats are tough, and you're not going to sink it. I know a guy that fell asleep. He fell asleep, and then the wheel started turning, and he started doing like concentric circles in a bay, and then eventually he ran up on a big rock that was in the middle of the bay. Just like, boat's like 3/4 out of the water, comes back down the rock, put a hole in the right above the water line, and he sailed the boat into port, pulled it out, fixed it. It's fine. It might be this boat. A lot of these are older. This is those bronze winches. God, that's so cool. So you're gonna have to watch that. There's a lot of maintenance on the teak. A lot of people are turned off because of that. So the trade-off you get is I have this really warm, almost wooden boat, except for the hull is really thick fiberglass. But there's so much teak on the deck, and that can leak through. And then there's these butterfly hatches, and then there's the companionway, and then there's the teak around the cockpit, and there's just so much wood. You can even tell, like, it's so much work that even if you go to sell it, you're like, screw it. I'm just going to sell it like that. I can't refinish the entire boat just to sell it. It would take, by the time I was done refinishing it, I'd need to start again. So that's the problem with these boats. This one needs to be recalked, I can tell. The caulking is proud, and it's missing in spots. This needs to be refinished. I bet you the seals are probably leaking there. The wood looks nice. The teak looks nice. It looks like they've taken care of it enough. This is where these boats shine. Like, look at this countertop. Marble countertop, big, huge fiddles. Things will just stay where they're supposed to be. This guy replaced all of these with stainless. I would go back to bronze. I think bronze looks so cool on these boats. But they're very homey, very warm inside, and they're very cool. And the HC33s have a Pullman, usually. They have a Pullman. So this is a Pullman. Yes, here's the companionway. Here's the very small saloon, and then there's a Pullman here, and that's pretty much where people sleep. There should be a little quarter berth in here for when you have guests. But this is not a big boat. This is a small boat. This is a boat for like one couple. I don't like this style. This is the old style of mast climbers. I love mast steps, but I like the ones that fold out because I've had both. And the rigging gets stuck in these ones, and sometimes you have to climb up there to get it, and a lot of the time you're out to sea when you're doing it, and it's dangerous. And the folding ones, they never catch not never, but they hardly ever catch the rigging. One thing that's cool about Hans Christians is a lot of them have worm gears for the steering. So if you see a Hans Christian without a pedestal, wow, this pedestal is so cool. Without a pedestal, with the wheel back here, that's a worm gear, and that's like the strongest way to make a steering system. You cannot break it. This one will have cables or a chain or something, but if you can find one with the wheel back here, they look a little funny and you're driving from the back, but that steering system is like bar none one of the best types of steering systems. And on these boats, everything's really heavy and like big, and everything's bronze. Like, look at these bronze ports, man. That's so cool. On a 33-foot boat, you can see here. You can see the water staining. So water got inside and it stained this. But the difference between this boat and a Beneteau is this is a big fat piece of teak, so it's not going to get ruined by a little bit of staining and a little bit of water damage. All you have to do is just refinish it. You'll never be able to know. You'll never see it. It's been water damaged here too. I would look to see where that water went. I bet you it went all the way back down here, back behind this this cove. But man, that freaking counter is so pretty. Green and green with the green marble counter looks great. I like that. Water damage here. You'll find water damage on almost any boat in this era. It's not a big deal, honestly. It's just part of having a plastic boat. Same counters, green marble. That's cool. I've seen marble tables here. This would be a cooler table if it came down and made a bed. So that's one thing I would do is I would take it from being fixed to being something I could drop down and make a big bed here, because that's a very, very nice underway bed. Or, cuddle puddle when you want to watch a movie. Oh, look, there's the Pullman and there's the quarter berth, and it's a double quarter. Beautiful boat, full keel, so it's not going to go backwards, but cutaway 4-foot. That's what this is called, a cutaway 4-foot. So they cut it away on the design so it'll point a little better, and it'll move a little better. It'll turn a little easier at slower speeds. Okay? Yeah, that's what I think about these boats. I'm not going to go through the rest. Beautiful. Teak deck is a no for me. Well, yeah, that's a personal choice. You guys, you got to remember there's different personality types. There's a personality type that loves that teak deck. There's a personality type that doesn't love the teak deck. There's a personality type that they want a wooden boat. They want the feel and the soul of having a wooden boat. And to each his own, man. Do it. It's a lot more work though. What about the cork anti-skid on the deck? I love cork. Cork is amazing. It's crazy expensive, and it does get, it's just like so. Teak is the best. Well, actually, cork is probably the best. Teak is one of the best non-skid surfaces in the world. When it gets wet, it does not slip, and that's why they use it on yachts. It absorbs oil. It's because it's got its own oils in it. It absorbs the sunlight. It really takes the salt environment well, because it's got so much oil in it. So teak is naturally amazing wood for that. So I like teak decks for that reason, but they're a lot of maintenance, and they leak. The old leaky tiki screwed down ones, a lot of them have problems. Not all of them. Sometimes you can find. I just saw a Vauquier that was from 1984 that the teak deck looks great. It must have been stored under a cover in the winter or something. But a lot of them will leak. Now cork, very expensive, stupid expensive, but freaking awesome. And cork and the fake teak stuff where you have to laminate it down and tread master, all that stuff that you have to glue down, and it's nice for a while. It will start delaminating and chipping and coming up, and then eventually you're going to have to pull it all up and replace it. Teak will last for probably 20 years. This treadmaster, cork, all that kind of stuff is like 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 years kind of thing. So just be aware that that's going to have to be something that you're redoing every once in a while. And cork is not cheap, but I love it. I've seen a very, very few boats with cork, mostly exploration boats, and every time I've done it, it's just so cool to see a cork boat. You feel it on your feet. It's like the perfect material. I've seen guys that put cork inside the boat too, just because they loved it so much on the outside. When you drop oil on it, it just absorbs it and then it washes off. When you drop a wrench, it just bounces off. It's nice stuff. I would love a teak deck. Yes, Free Sailor. Johnny Hag says they all eventually leak. Yeah. Jarex Wachowski says, not sure if it has a cord deck. Almost every single boat has a cord deck. Almost every single boat you look at has a cord deck. Even if it's got a solid fiberglass hull, still has a cord deck. It's just cost prohibitive to make a solid glass cord deck. Now, what do they cord with is the question. Is it Arex foam? Because that would be like the best thing to use. Because then if the water got in it, it wouldn't absorb into the foam. It'll just delaminate the fiberglass. So you pull up all the delaminated fiberglass, reglass it, and you're good to go. Balsa will eventually get soggy. Same thing with plywood's the worst. Plywood sucks. Just one little pinhole, and it'll ruin a huge area of plywood. It sucks. But it's not the end of the world. You rip out all the old crappy stuff, and then you put new stuff in it. Oyster used plywood for their decks for a long time. So, I mean, they're one of the better companies in the world. It's just part of boating. You have to be able to learn to deal with all this stuff. You're not going to find the perfect boat unless you've got $2 million and you want to buy a new one. And even then, it's not, people go in there thinking that they're not going to have any problems. And I've seen so many people that were just sick of cruising, sold their boats because it was problematic, more problematic than they thought it was going to be, and they think if it's like a car, you spend $3 million on it, the company will take care of everything. Oh yeah, good luck getting the company to come out to Madagascar to take care of something they said they would warranty. If you bring it back to them, they'll warranty it. But that's the way it works with boats. You can't drive a car to another country and expect the car manufacturer to come and service it for you. What about, let's see. Hey, Leaky Tiki Maintenance. Thanks for sharing your knowledge, James. It's really easy to kill a couple hours with you, James. Please say hi to Anna and Luna for us. Will do. I think I'm going to get off of here too, actually. I think everybody's kind of ready. It is 4. Oh my God, it's been 2.5 hours of this? No way. Holy crap. That's crazy. Anyway, much love, everybody. That was boat buying workshop for today. Next week we'll be coming out with my last boat buying workshop, which will be not teaching you again how to buy a boat, but taking $500,000 and saying, okay, now we're going to try to find out what works. And this opens up a lot of categories. Also, I offer consultations. If you'd like to book me for a consultation, you can go to my website, like I've mentioned a couple times during this, sailingzingaro.com. I don't like to give my email out because I don't know how, but I always get crazy spam when I do that. And if you'd like to join our Patreon, we have a couple of different levels of Patreon. There's free membership where you can stay in touch with me and get all the updates. And then if you pay for the membership, you get even more. You get free live streams, patron live streams, and you get access to our WhatsApp group, the Zingaro Saloon, where there's like 200 cool sailors in there, and it's a really cool, safe space to learn. I think that's it. Don't forget to like, subscribe. Love you guys. Thank you for joining me. Thanks for killing a couple hours with me. That was cool. I think that was the longest live stream I've ever done. Much love. Peace, love. Talk to you later.